And I am live. It is February 7th, 2019, and welcome to all of you. I think this might be very interesting to some people tonight, and it might be very boring to some people, but to me, it's been an eye-opening day of doing a little research. Of course, I've got a lot of time on my hands these days. Between the lousy weather, between Jen and I both recovering from our surgeries. I thought, hey, Keith Gregory, I thought today was her appointment. It's actually tomorrow. So I wasted a lot of time on, getting ready for something I didn't have to do. Oh, well, when you don't have to be any place in particular. Keith Gregory, how are you, sir? Nice to see you. It's interesting. Today, and of course, more people will be filtering in as the night goes on. And I'm going to wait a little bit before I get underway here because it's very fascinating. I always contended, and we'll have people on panel later, whomever wants to come on, but I'm saying I always contended. Thank you, Keith. Hello, Wisconsin, Carrie. Emma, nice to see you. For those of you who enjoy history and the tangled web that history weaves, you might find this very interesting tonight as we ponder some of those great questions. Somebody mentioned yesterday, I was on a hangout last night, and Tucker's been raising money for, we've all been chipping in for, at least people with a lot of heart have been chipping into the St. Jude's. It was a great thing. Hey, series for a great month of January. Let me also say the great Frank Robinson has passed away, my childhood idol. And I want to tell you a very interesting story about me and Frank Robinson growing up in the great city of Baltimore when the Baltimore Orioles in the 60s and the 70s were really a team to contend with outstanding pitching. Jim Palmer, Dave McNally, Pat Dobson, Mike Cuellar, 420 game winners on one staff in 1 year. Hello, D. World Series champions 1966 beat the great Sandy Koufax, the great Don Drysdale, the great big Los Angeles Dodgers machine. Four straight swept them. Lost to the dreaded Pirates in 69, came back to beat the Cincinnati Reds, the Big Red Machine, in 1970, with Dave McNally being the first pitcher in World Series history to hit a grand slam in the game, and Brooks Robinson being voted the vacuum on third base, MVP and future Gold Glove Hall of Famer. Hello, Deborah Daly. How are you, honey? Nice to see you. Dancing Dawn, Cherry Cola. Nice to see you, East Coast lady. Nice to see you. Hello, Lynn. We're all recovering well. Of course, Frank Robinson came over from the Cincinnati Reds. They traded him because he was a troublemaker, but he found a great home in Baltimore and went on to fame. Hello, Mallory. As number 5 or 6 on the all-time home run list. And I had the pleasure of seeing him in Memorial Stadium many, many, many times. Yeah, those senior moments will come more and more. Yes, they will. Rest in peace, Frank Robinson. Before we get to tonight's thing, I'll tell you about Frank Robinson. And my first brush with personal prejudice really came in 1966. Baltimore Orioles had, well, a lot of baseball teams at that time had little junior organization. If you were a young fan, you could buy for $5. You got like 10 tickets to 10 different games during the year, like 50 cents a game. And you tear out your little ticket and you'd go up to the junior Orioles section. Way the hell out. Hello, everybody. Way the hell out in left field. I mean, you couldn't even see us out there, right? The cheapest damn seats in the place. Hey, Van Lufa. Well, they had something called a birthday box. And if they drew your name out in one of those games, And they always drew it before, so they would let you know when you come to the stadium to bring your family. If they drew your name out of the hat of all those junior Orioles for that game, you got to go up to what they call the birthday box. They gave you a birthday cake, you and your family and your friends, and gave you like a little Orioles cap and bat. And I mean, the Orioles, legendary team, right? I mean, outstanding. And the topper was, you got to meet the Oriole of your choice, okay? And I went up to the birthday box that day. My name was chosen, and I was due to go in that birthday box, and they said, which Oriole do you want to come up and meet you? I said, Frank Robinson. Boy, you could have heard a pin drop in 1966 when there's, you know, people all around, the press, all the other people. This was before a World Series was won in '66, and I was looking around at people's faces, and I remember one guy saying, "Surely you mean Brooks Robinson, right? The third baseman." I said, "No, Frank Robinson. That's the one I want to meet, the slugger. You know, the great Frank Robinson, Triple Crown winner, future Triple Crown winner." I mean, I never saw the look on people's faces that this guy was going to come up and sign an autograph, which he did, had a slice of cake and sat down with me, and I got it somewhere in my memorabilia. I have that signed, hey, Laura, autograph of Frank Robinson. But boy, you talk about the first cold chills of prejudice. You know, that was one of the first things that I really remembered. A little bit of blowback I got on the choice that I made for the Oriole I most wanted to meet. Yeah, you used to pretend you were Frank Robinson. Well, he also became the first black manager in baseball history, and a heck of a guy. So nice to see everybody. You know, I was thinking last night, let's get to the main event here. I was thinking last night, listening to Marshall on panel, and it was very interesting last night. It wasn't crazy. It was a very well-behaved show. Like I said, if anybody's welcome to come on as long as people behave themselves, but if you can't, then you get the boot. Nice to see you, Mr. Z. And he was talking about the Assyrian, yeah, what a memory, huh, Lynn? He was talking about Assyrian freedom fighters and fighting the people in Assyria that are fighting for the restoration of, well, getting rid of the regime that was there. And I really thought to myself, how in the hell, you know, what the hell is where did all this shit come from? You know, and I started thinking to myself, how much do we really know about Assyria? It was Phil's birthday today. Happy birthday, Phil. How much do we really know? Thank you, Pink Glam Girl. Thank you. Jen's sleeping. Yeah, it was really cool. I agree. Shipped out $27 in dimes to support the Assyrian freedom fighters. Well, Mallory, if you can find them, let me know where in the hell they are. And I don't mean a social club in the back of some hookah restaurant in Chicago, eating shawarmas on a Saturday morning and bitching about the price of lamb, okay? I'm talking about the real deal. How you doing, Mr. Boot? How much do we really know? What history do we know? Can a thing, a civilization called Assyria, ever rise again? And where did all this trouble begin? And I was very stimulated and very fascinated today to do a little bit of research, and it might give you a little different spin on the pride that Marshall exhibits in being Assyrian. Because much like the Armenian culture, much like the Jewish culture that survived in Europe, the diaspora with the Holocaust and all that, Assyria has been through its own grinding Holocaust for thousands of years. And I never really knew that before. You know, and I also never knew that Assyria was a very, it turned to one of the earliest nations that turned to Christianity, and they've paid a terrific price for that. Happy birthday, Mark Handler. they paid an incredible price for that, for standing up for religion, to the point that Assyrians, true Assyrians, only make up 1% of the population of what we know as Iraq today. So it was very fascinating how in the hell this turn of events came to be. And like I said, we'll have people, anybody wants to panel up later can come up. And Laura, I'm glad to see you. I told you yesterday, he's Syrian Christians say they're Assyrians so they don't get labeled as Arabs. Same with the Lebanese that call themselves Phoenician. It's a very interesting story, though, Mr. Boot, and it shows you how destructive World War I was. People talk about World War II, but in terms of shaping the world today, World War I was far more destructive than World War II, especially when you consider before World War I, Turkey dominated that region, all the way from what we know is Turkey today, all the way around to Jordan, all the way down to Israel and Syria, and all the way down to Saudi Arabia, and all the way around the peninsula. They were really huge. The Ottoman Empire was enormous in scope. And what happened in World War I? Well, the dying man of Turkey lost, found himself on the wrong side of the whole world war, gone down with Germany, and they just collapsed. And what came in? The Great British Empire marched in and carved up the Middle East with all of the various mandates. It created Palestine and Jordan and carved out the Saudi Arabia and carved out all those different countries. It's a fascinating history. Now I kind of get an idea of why somebody could have such an intense amount of pride in a civilization and a people that have been absolutely decimated over the course of thousands of years. And the really big mistake that probably, thank you, Laura, the really big mistake that probably led to their demise was the rise of Islam and them being Christians within a Muslim world. So I went back here and I did a little research on this. And if you don't want to, come back later and we have people on panel. But I think it's interesting that today Assyrians are only like 1% of the population of Assyria, and most of the Assyrians are scattered around the world. A lot of them live in different countries because they've been progressively pushed out and booted out. They're a Semitic people, along with the Jews and other people in that region, all different types of tribes and stuff. They're called the Semitic people. But it was just interesting in ancient history that they really were the first empire. The birthplace of civilization. It's really correct. That place called Assyria. And they started out the Akkadian Empire, which united all the Akkadian-speaking people under one rule. And after the dissolution of Syria rose with the old Assyrian Empire and the non-Assyrian Empire, well, they formed a huge empire there. But after about and this was 3,000 years ago. I mean, this civilization's been here a long-ass time. But it fell somewhere between 600 BC, around that area. And it got occupied by the Muslims that came in. Their forces of Islam came in, and progressively, it's just a history for the next couple thousand years of just progressive waves of ethnic cleansing and slaughter of tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of Assyrians in periodic waves when new rulers, new Turkish rulers would come in, or new Islamic leaders would come in. They would demand that the Assyrians pay taxes. They had become Christian by that time. And let me tell you, they stuck out like sore thumbs over there in the Middle East. So they were always, them and the Armenians. We all know the Armenian massacre of 1915, when the Turks believed that the Armenians, that's where Kardashian's family comes out of, those roots, that the Armenians were cooperating with the Russians to try to beat the Turks, to try to, in other words, they were traitors to where they were living to try to help the Russians. So what did the Turks do? They rounded up 1 million Armenians and they marched them out into the Syrian desert, where they died. First great genocide. It's also the thing that Hitler made note of. This is a very effective way to cleanse. Just get rid of people wholesale on a massive scale. And Hitler was a great admirer of the Turkish, how the Turks dealt with the problem. It was basically the first genocides. Well, Assyria had been gone through waves of those genocides too, where people were hanged and slaughtered. So it's a tragic history. And you can blame a lot of it on the, when the British come in after Turkey collapses in World War I, you're just imposing lines and drawing boundaries where tribal peoples interact, and you have the Kurds, and you have there's so many different sub-ethnic groups over there and religions, that just because you draw a line doesn't mean that people aren't going to fight. Look at what happens in Israel for 50. Even to this day, people still fighting about that. So it's really tragic, and it gave me an idea, it gave me a sense of the pride that Coate has, and it gave me a sense of the pride that Marshall has in what it is to be Assyrian, and what it means to be to have that culture in such a thin little thread. Hey, Oda May, such a tiny little thread still existing of Assyrian culture. It's just absolutely terrible when you think about the periodic waves that came in. So Iraq, once World War I was over, the British came in and appointed a king to be the overseer of a newly created kingdom of Iraq. And it wasn't until 1933 that it formally got recognized as the Republic of Iraq. And the Iraqi people ain't Assyrian people. I always kind of assumed that if you're an Iraqi, you're an Assyrian. Not so. Not so. Yeah, you have Coptic, you have Ethiopians that are Coptic Christians and things. So it's a very strange. Yeah, they speak Aramaic and they speak Arabic, but they have absolutely nothing to do with Islam. And I think it's very interesting that we tag like Marshall and as being like a Muslim, when in fact, and ironically, say what you will about Marshall, but in general, the Assyrian people suffered mightily, being persecuted, and have had their own ongoing Holocaust for really thousands of years. It's progressive Turkish and Muslim leaders came in and beheaded tens of thousands at a time, forced them out into the deserts and all those type of things. Why? Because they're Christian, Chaldean, Catholic, and some of the other branches. So it was really eye-opening to me. There were various massacres during July 1933. 800 armed Assyrians headed for the Syrian border, where they were turned back to the French by the French, and they just ended up being massacred out there. They wanted to try to unite their country. Just wave after wave of just misery. Assyrians shooting prisoners in cold blood, massacring 400, 500 men of the Bat tribe in Simel. I mean, it's really it really makes your hair stand on end when you start to realize some of the stuff that these people have been through. But is there? Hey, how you doing, D-Dub? Hey, Kat. Yeah, that's it, Kat. The problem is, Kat says, good talk tonight. I always said the Assyrians needed to organize like Jews did to obtain a homeland. I would have given Iraq to the Assyrians as a homeland, but I'm not the UN. You know what it was, Kat? It was really a case of the British coming in and just saying, hey, look, the war is over. We're just going to draw, hey, Mr. Boot, we're just going to draw these lines and we're going to put the rulers in that we want to put on and just make some temporary peace. And then long enough for us to get the hell out of Dodge. And then you guys go settle it. You know, and we saw the Balfour Declaration and all that, and the stated attempt to create a Jewish homeland after all of the pressing by a large group of people for the establishment of a Jewish homeland. So it's very fascinating, but it's another group of people that were very marginalized. Hey, Johnny Wad. And I came away with a real sense of I don't know how I would describe it when you read the history of it. Yeah, you couldn't fight after the collapse of Turkey, Kat. You just could not fight the forces of the Turk collapse and then the British coming in and divvying up the Middle East after World War I. We all know the movie Lawrence of Arabia. You know, and that thing, I put a little, I was going to wear the blonde tonight. I had a little beauty mark on. I didn't feel like it. Yeah, the U.S. has done plenty. The problem is, hey, feed me Seymour. Yes, I put that on tonight. But Assyria wasn't lucky enough to have the forces that would marshal. It was too small of an element. And let's face it, and I think Kat would agree, it did not have the monetary, nor did it have the political connections to have something like the Balfour Declaration put into place that was a declaration of intent that, the United Nations and Britain, as a result of the Rothschilds, would try to secure a homeland for Israel. But Assyria never had that kind of backing. You remember, like a 12-year-old. Very interesting. So yeah, the state of Israel, Teresa, how are you? So I think it's a very fascinating story, and I'm not going to dwell on it too long tonight. But let's just say I had a really heightened appreciation, for Coate and for Marshall in terms of their lineage and their heritage. And I can imagine some of the pride like Armenians feel, and now Assyrians, because there still are true Assyrian people, but they're only 1% of the inhabitants of Iraq now. So now this brings us to the second part of the equation. You know where Iraq came from. You know a little bit of the history of Islam just overwhelming the Christian forces of Assyria. But can Assyria rise again? Well, thank you, Johnny Wad. The answer to me is an unequivocal no. Because the diaspora, the spreading out has been so great, and you don't have that push like a lot of the Jews had for creation of a homeland. Armenia is about as close as people ever got, only because Russia collapsed at that time. But to me, it's fascinating. Can Assyria ever rise again? Absolutely not. So I did go in and I tried to find at present day time, everybody left Iraq because of the burning and raping of people. Exactly, Coate. And if you were a non-Muslim, they might openly seem like everybody's cool, but you were walking around with a big target on your back. Okay. This is why Marshall's family came to the United States. I can't much blame them, because to stay there and exist there would be a death sentence. Hey, Vicky, how are you? I couldn't even imagine Elvis driving to Lisa Marie in Iraq. I wanted to now get that image out of my head. Okay. How you doing there? Good night, Mr. Boot. Good night. I want to get that the hell out of my head, that image. Yeah, they ran to Jordan. Some of them fled into Turkey. Thank you, Monica. And I just think it's very fascinating that, you know, the whole history of everything that came down. Some people were lucky enough to have the money and finances to have homelands created, and some people didn't. Yeah, they ran from Jessica. They were like the indigenous Native Americans of Mesopotamia. 3,000. Their civilization lasted 3,000 years. Yeah, and that's one of the things that Saddam did. The code is correct. The Assyrian people like Saddam because he did not let the Arabs, you know, haul out and further ethnically cleanse the Assyrians from Iraq. One of the small things on the plus side that he and many other Turkish leaders did throughout centuries and thousands of years it's like the Jews in what we know as Jerusalem today. As long as they paid their taxes, 1800s, 1900s, everything was pretty calm in what was then Palestine. You know, the Turks, they don't want to fight a war. They say, as long as you pay your taxes, you're all good. But if you go to court, we're going to believe the Islamic guy over you. But it was pretty peaceful. They were pretty smart. But I'll tell you, when radicalism took over, Islamic radicalism, boy, oh boy. You saw me on Bjorn's. I had a great time over there tonight, Sean. I had a great time over there. They ran like crazy. So there's a very interesting history tonight. And now I understand why particularly Marshall may have such a sense of Assyrian pride now. As screwed up as his, you know, his bearings are on everything else, you can understand where in his family that history of horror and that history of persecution and being marginalized and fleeing for your life. It's almost amazing that anybody survived of Assyrian blood into the 20th century, considering the stew of Islam that surrounds, you know, that region of Iraq. It absolutely astounds me that anybody survive that at all. So I don't care who you worship or screw, just pay me your taxes. That's exactly right, Joe King. And that was the philosophy of the Turks when they ruled for hundreds of years over a very peaceful, hey, Charlie Lynn, over a very peaceful Middle East. But World War I upset everything. British mandates, all of those, you know, all those new boundaries that were drawn, the creation of Saudi Arabia, the creation of Jordan, the creation of Syria, all that stuff carved out. And just like I said, just because you draw a line, yeah, Bjorn from the CX network, just because you draw a line does not mean that people that you draw the line over will respect those boundaries. And that's why we have so much horror and strife in the Middle East today. Throw a little bit of oil into the equation and you can understand. You can understand how shit can get a bit out of hand over there. Well, I'm going to get on a beer and we'll get on to other things and chat to the side chat here, panel, anybody? No, I don't think Marshall knows that ancestral history that I do, you know? But the thing I would say to Marshall is be very glad. Be very glad that the United States opened their doors to people in flight from that type of situation. But just because people open their doors for you to come in does not mean that you should get a free ride. Okay? This was a country that was built on work. And, you know, as far as I can determine, most Assyrians were very hardworking. And all that. Yeah, the WMD, the false premise of that, the whole, thank you, Johnny Watt. Well, I thought you guys would be interested in that. I didn't get down to a lot of the nitty gritty. I don't like to, you know, make things boring. I mean, you know, Chaldean Catholic Church got real big over there. But then Assyria basically disappeared by 700 AD. It was gone. You know, and then it was just remnants of ancestral Assyrians around. Yeah, the city of Ashur, after 4,000 years of existence, just went out of existence in the 14th century. I mean, it was amazing. This culture, the Babylonian culture and all that, just disappeared. Persecution of Assyrians has a long and bitter history. In 1895, in Diyarbakir, Kurdish and Turkish militia began attacking Christians, plundering Assyrian villages. In 1915, Kurds and Turks plundered. About 7,000 Assyrians were killed. In 1915, Turkish troops with Kurdish detachments committed mass slaughter of Assyrians in Iran. In the Assyrian village of Haftawan, about 1,000 people were beheaded and 5,000 women were taken to Kurdish harems. I mean, this is some really serious shit, you know. In 1933, Iraqi soldiers and Kurdish militia killed tens of thousands of Assyrians in Similarly. The massacre had a big influence on Ralph Lemke, the jurist who coined the word genocide. Okay, it's various in the massacre commemorated yearly with the official Assyrian Martyrs Day on August 7th, carried out by the Assyrian army. Wow, can you imagine that? In 1915, Kurds massacred another 27,000 Assyrians in Urmia and destroyed 100 Assyrian villages. I mean, they must have been rampaging. Yeah, terrible. Thank you, Cobra John. It's a cold one. Very interesting, guys. No, I'm not Susie. I have no, you know, as far as I know, Jesus was Hebrew. One of the Semitics, the Hebrews are one of the Semitic peoples. The Assyrian history is the only place that it's really preserved is over in the British Museum over there. You've seen what they've done in Iraq. They've defaced tons of art, defaced that. Yeah, well, Sean said the Assyrian heyday was millenniums ago. What they have done in the last 100 years, apart from trying to impregnate camels and goats. Well, I could understand for the first time, though, kind of the desire to hold. Thank you, Cobra John. Much appreciated, sweetie. I could understand that desire to feel proud of your history. So I think that that's pretty cool. And I never knew. Number one, I always thought Assyria was Iraqi. I never knew that there was a difference between the two. Mr. Z says heathens. Well, most of them are Christians. You look at I remember when I first came on here, Marshall years ago on Facebook had pictures of his sister's wedding. And Janet was a flower girl, and it was held in a big Chaldean Christian church. Yeah, Therese, I'm going to send you a link, honey. Get your ass on here. I know you're done your shit. All right, there you go, honey. Sent you a link out if you want to drink. I learned a lot tonight. I took a crash course and I was stunned what I found out. But is there any chance? Oh, and the other thing I wanted to say too, I looked up Assyrian freedom fighters. I could not find one extant group today that is Assyrian freedom fighters. I see some groups that sit around hookah clubs, but I've yet to find, groups that are actively being armed, because you got to remember, the U.S. is in there. And, I don't think they want the turmoil created of some subgroup, going to war in there. So, GK Pup can spell. Yay. G-A-Y. Gay. Yay. Mr. Z's dropping the hammer down. How you doing tonight, Mr. Z? So I think any chance of Assyrian freedom fighters, I'd have to say there's really, hello, Colleen, how are you, honey? I would have to say there's really not much of a chance of Assyrians. Yeah, the conflict in the Middle East has been going on for 1,000 years. We'll not see it end in our lifetime. Actually, Cobra John, most of that conflict has really been from, I want to say 1920 to the present day, because when Turkey held all of the Middle East, it was all under one ruler. It was all under one common law. Then after World War II, everything just went. World War I, everything went to shit. The British set up some basic lines and then said, "Hey, you know what? We're getting the hell out of here. We're not going to stick around to deal with the consequences." Buff said, Elvis Begin is getting out of hand. Yeah, Aggie said, I thought Assyrians were Iranians. They're not. I would say if you really wanted to isolate what Assyrians are, you would look at that area just between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, and you would say that they truly are the Babylonians that the Bible speaks of, with King Nebuchadnezzar and one of the ancient wonders of the world. Hi, Becca. That's what I think Assyria is. And everybody else was Islamic tribes and conquerors that were moving in and swelling the population of what we call modern day Iraq to the point that the Assyrians are now 1% of the Iraqi population. How are you doing tonight, Becca? Joey D said the Roman Empire is long gone and Israel is once again the homeland of the Jews. Things happen. Well, you know what, Joe? You had you had that yearning amongst a lot of people, particularly coming out of Eastern Europe, and this was long before the Holocaust and all that, way back in the 1880s. I think this guy Herschel or some other people over there for having a Jewish homeland. And luckily, Rothschild had that money to really lobby members of parliament in England. And because England was the after ruler temporarily of the Middle East, Rothschild was able to get that ear and have the Balfour Declaration announced by Britain that they intended to create an Israeli state. And that's why we have that big split. Tucky, how are you doing? How are you doing? Yeah, we had a very, very interesting discussion tonight, Tucky. We learned a lot of history tonight. Can Assyria rise again? Probably not. Where did Iraq come from, and where does Assyria? And is there any such thing today as Assyrian freedom fighters? And the reality is, sadly for the Assyrian nation, there is nothing today out there that is being funded, at least in any public way, to do that. A fundraiser for the Assyrian community. I might do a fundraiser for the survivors of the terrible Holocaust that these people have gone through for thousands of years, but I don't think that I'm going to be trying to do anything for freedom fighters. That's for sure. They no longer have a homeland. That's right, Colleen. They no longer have a homeland. They have been, hey, Dave, there are still Assyrian people, but there is no Assyria. Like I said, if you define that little area between what we called the cradle of civilization, when we learned history between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, the crescent, the Fertile Crescent, that is really Assyria. That is really Babylon. That's where King Nebuchadnezzar and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon all came out of. And I believe that that society could not grow fast enough to repulse the influx of Islam, which eventually surrounded it, coexisted with it for 1,000 years, and just periodically chopped off heads, and would have raids and slaughters and Holocaust. So I think that's it. I think that no, I really do believe, Dave, that Elvis is an Assyrian. From my research and what I figured out today, I really do believe that he is Assyrian in the midst of what is modern day Iraq. And if you go back and just listen to the beginning of the Hangout, you'll see how you could have a little, like a Manhattan within the United States. It's almost like if we had a one different state within the United States. Say Iowa was the Confederate States of America, and everything else was the United States around it. Hello, Cheryl. Well, they might be Iraqi in the sense that they hate Assyrians, Dave. I mean, the bottom line is there's definitely Assyrian culture and Assyrian people that rose out of that were the original kingdom of Assyria people there. What we know is Iraqis aren't Christians. Assyrians were the early converts to the Chaldean Catholic Church, and because of that, that's what fucked them up in history. To stand as Christians against in 800 AD, when the forces of Islam swept up to the north through modern day Syria, Jordan, Israel, and came up that way. They finally encountered this group of Assyrians and just outsettled them like the Han Chinese do now in Tibet. One way to take the fight out of places like Tibet and up in northwest China, Xinjiang province, where you have Muslims, is just force a whole shitload of Han Chinese to settle in there. And after about 2 or 3 generations, you've outpopulated the indigenous people. Well, that's what I'm saying, Mr. Mysterious. His family should be very glad. Should be very glad that they were able to seek security and shelter within America. But, I think the mandate is that we all pull our load in this country. That's all I'll say. Whiskey OG, how are you? How are you? Nice to see you. Hey, Sambo, what's going on? Well, definitely America first. But there really is no organized that I could find going through my Google search of 2018. 2018 and 19, I could not find any, I could not find any freedom fighting groups or any organized effort to resist that. I just think it's just too small of a force. If they had been, what would have saved them? If they were under Russia, like Armenia was saved. After Russia collapsed, then Armenia came forward again. They went to war with Azerbaijan, but Armenia became an independent country. But Iraq was way too far away. Let's see. Wrote no more. Oh, I know now. I know a lot more about it than Elvis does at this point in time. I know a lot more about. Yeah, let's not have the hate. Oh, you like that fire UFO? How are you? I thought so, bitch. Come knock on someone's door. Come on, you guys. How you doing, Whiskey? No snowflakes. No snowflakes. Nice to see you, Whiskey. Yeah, let's elevate the thought a little bit, Code, here tonight, please. Let's keep things on a positive track. Everybody's a guest in here, so let's keep it cool in here just for me. Thank you. Everybody's welcome here. Okay, Tilly Mae, why are you upset? Tilly Mae said, I'm really upset. What happened, Tilly Mae? Let's see. Tess said, are you related to him? Why do you care about this person so much? Just wondering. No, I was very stimulated. I was very stimulated by the lack of knowledge I had about Assyrian culture and about where things stand today. And I never understood the background. I never understood the backstory. So today I did a little bit of research. But is there anything are there any scraps to fight for today? No. What is that? Is this family? I don't even know what you're talking about, Tilly Mae. Hey Nola, how you doing? No, I'm not raising any money for anybody. I'm just having an interesting talking point about where did the country of Iraq come from? How did Assyria disappear? And are there Assyrian freedom fighters today? There's no money being raised here, Tess. No money being raised here. Anybody that came over with the assumption that their money being raised here is wrong. We were just doing a little bit of thinking. What do you think of the Australian housing crisis? As bad as you? Yeah, I think it is, Robert Wilbur. I think it will be. I read an article in Bloomberg about that. So, Rosie related to Elvis. Can you imagine? No, I'm not. Yeah. Well, where's the funding campaign? That's what I'd like to know. Funding campaign. Where is it? Where's that link? Hey, Polvo. No, I'm having an interesting historical chat tonight. Interesting historical chat. That's all I want to do. Sometimes I just get stimulated to understand something, and I just wanted to know, number one, we all heard of Assyria, but what happened to it? And number two, how did Iraq come into being out of that? And number three, is there such a thing as, thank you, Aggie, or is there such a thing as Assyrian freedom fighters? And number four, I can understand why Marshall feels such pride in his heritage, because there's not a lot of Assyrians left from that, after all the waves and thousands of years of brutality and bitterness. Thank you, Aggie. I appreciate that. No, why would you go away, Tilly? All you have to do is ask your question. Hey, Professor Pudding. Tilly, the bottom line is I'm not raising any money here, honey. I'm just talking about history. There's nothing to raise money for. There's nothing to raise money for. There's no real unified force to fight for a rise of Assyria anymore. I mean, that became crystal clear. He feels no pride to scan the Assyrian people along. There are still Assyrian people, Tater Tot, but they're 1%. Just 1% of the population of Iraq is Assyrian, and they would generally be identified as Christian people. That's what it really defines what a Assyrian is compared to an Iraqi. An Iraqi is never going to be. He might be an Iraqi by country of designation or birth, but if he's a Christian, He's very likely to be Assyrian. He's going to raise money. Oh, Oda May, I don't much care. People come over here, and within 5 minutes, yeah, the Phoenicians are another group. I can't remember what somebody told me what the Phoenicians later became. Syrians? I'm not sure. Phoenicians. He'll be giving me links to Assyrian sites for money. Yeah, I think we've shed quite enough. I think we've shed quite enough blood in the Middle East, American blood over there, and I'm sure it's not going to be the end of it. I'm sure it's not going to be the end of it. But now I finally understand for the first time ever what Assyria is today and what it was and what Iraq is. Yeah, Oda May's great. Yeah. Oda May's great. Elvis said you're raising money for him and Tucker. Tucker chat's gone crazy with it. Oh, I have to laugh. Yes, so Homeland Security might want them links. What links? Oh, shit. Good Lord. History lesson gone wrong, huh? Mr. Mysterious says, so what is his God? Is Jesus Christ? Which one is confused here? He is a Christian. No matter what he says about the God Ashur, his family's as Christian as they come. So whether he practices it or puts it into good use is a different story. Hey, Pecan Baby. Yeah, let's keep it positive. Let's keep it upbeat. Becca says, you're killing me. No, I don't think Assyria is going to rise again. Good night, honey. Well, I'm just saying, I don't know. Only uses Assyrian as a crutch. I'm not sure. But if you're Christian, if you are Christian, then you're probably Assyrian out of that region. Yeah, why are you sending him back on the air, Oda? Yeah, he was raised Chaldean Catholic. Yeah, the Eastern Orthodox Chaldean Catholic Church. Yeah, I don't know why you're telling people I'm raising money for you, Marshall. I'm sitting here talking about Assyrian history. You know, it might be nice if you clarified that. I'm here to understand more about your background, but the one thing that became clear is I certainly understand your pride now in what we know as Assyrian culture. How you doing, Laura? Yeah, the only thing the Assyrians can do is roll in their grave. I still think it's as much a tragedy to me as the Armenian massacre of 1915 and the Holocaust in Europe. It really is a tragedy. Yeah, I know, Oda May. I'm surprised that people pay. The thing that shocks me is that people pay it such mind. I wouldn't even know who in the hell to send money to. Yeah, that's right. Marshall is an American. He's an Arkansasier. Yeah, that's right. He is definitely an American. And she has to go over there and fight for. Well, I mean, if it is. Well, Oda May, I don't think anybody really puts much stock in that, to tell you the truth. It might be a good story and just to get people all whirled up. Yeah, go over there and fight for what's right and instead of staying in the U.S. I don't know. Assyria died there, not rise again. God said Babylon will never rebuild, and it never will be. Isaiah 19:23-25. I don't know. I mean, you're welcome to have a link, but don't tell people that I'm doing raising. Hey, Susan, how are you? I wouldn't even know who in the hell to raise money for, man. There's nothing left. You know, it's like going into a burned out Hell's Angels club and saying, hey, man, I found a penny on the floor. Let's fight over it. But I did have a good sense of the pride that you have, that sea will rise again. You read it? I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, he drops me in the middle of shit shows, isn't it? I don't know, Goose. I don't much worry about it. People getting false information. They'll straighten it out over there. I'm not worried about that. Ain't nobody raising any money here for Assyrian freedom fighters. Isaiah 19:23. Let's see. I'm curious. Man, the thing that surprises me is how people jump on stuff, you know. Let's see here. Isaiah. Okay, Isaiah 19. 23 to 25. In that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land. Whom the Lord of hosts shall bless, saying, blessed be Egypt, my people, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance. Well, I don't, you know, it says the Lord shall smite Egypt. You know, I really don't know how to interpret that. The highway running from Egypt to Assyria through Israel pictures a time of international peace when Egypt and Assyria will become my people. Well, I don't know. You got a lot of Islamic people in the way, man. You got a lot of bandits on the highway. I can tell you that. Let's see. There we go. Well, I'm not sure how it's going to rise. I mean, I don't know how it's really going to rise. Now read the instructions for a cam toilet. You can trust to just give money and it will rise in iron. You got to be able to. Yeah, I read my Bible. I've got the carrying version here. Very important here. So it's very interesting. Hey, Tasha. Yeah, I think the only thing, I mean, that's standing in the, how you doing, Juice? That's standing in the way I failed the Bible study. Yeah, before you get his interpretation, please ask a pastor. Yeah, it can be all cut and dried. I mean, he can have a link if he wants. But we're not raising any money. Who in the hell would you raise money for? The United Freedom Fighters of Assyria. Which P.O. box do I send? Which P.O. box do I send that to? Well, I want to talk to you about this, Marshall, and what makes you so sure about this, because, and also I want to tell you, you know, that you don't put the things out about me. I'm not doing any fundraising. There's nothing to fundraise for. I mean, I feel it's almost heroic and tragic, you know, what happened to these Syrian people. I never knew how decimated they were, them and the Armenians and all that. So, yeah. How you doing, Biker Rosie? Nice to see you. Those were men that wrote that, not God. Yeah, I don't remember any of the. That's what they always said. But I'm a believing in the word. Yeah, well, yeah. If you raise money, the FBI will come to your door because you're interfering with foreign policy of the United States of America. I mean, what the hell? Who in the hell needs to do that? Plus, I'm looking today and I'm thinking the only thing I can see is just Assyrian groups in the U.S. that smoke hookah and go have shawarmas at brunches on Saturdays in the back room of Chicago clubhouses and stuff. But I think that we should have a respect for Assyria as being a Christian culture in the midst of Islam. I mean, can you imagine how principled you still have to be to stand up for Christianity when you're in a absolute sea of Islamic peoples that absolutely hate your guts? That's the only thing that Marshall said it makes sense about Saddam Hussein was he was a protector of the Assyrian people. Within the borders of Iraq, he did not allow them to be slaughtered or persecuted. Yeah, I'm trying to get people to lift their game up here. I want to keep things simple here. I don't want to start modding up everybody and then it just becomes a flame war. So I asked Coat to please be kind. Let's see. Johnny Black said, Rosie, send Elvis to Assyria. I don't even know where in the hell Assyria is anymore, to be honest. It's only a loose group of people. Yeah, the Pakistan church, all these Christian churches are persecuted like crazy over there. This is why Armenia was lucky it was under Russian control when the Soviet Union collapsed. Yeah, no more threats, okay? Let's elevate the chat in here, okay? Thank you. Tucker chat's going apeshit. Why would they go apeshit about me? We're not raising any money over here. Elbow pulls the strings and she dances. I don't even know what you're talking about, Joe King. I'm here to talk about history. Yeah, don't let fools trigger you on here. Do not let fools trigger you. Do not let fools trigger. Do not let a time to discuss history. Well, Vicky, you can go over and tell them I'm not. Don't. Yeah, come up to present time. There we go. Come up to present time. So I think, yeah, you had others killed, that's for sure. John McClendon. Ignore a fool and watch them go. Yeah, let's just lift it up. I don't want people fighting on the side chat over here. Carlos, come on. Knock it off. How you doing, Bree Brown? Nice to see you, sweetie. Stay completely positive. That's correct. Yeah, they're play conspiracies. We're not having a I don't even know who you're talking about, Rosie O'Kelly. Smoking some kind of indica, watching you, huh? I'm smoking. There you go. That's funny. Yeah, Jews, take out. If you see anybody spreading hate, just take them out. I want things to be positive and fun here as we discussed a little bit of Iraqi and Assyrian culture tonight. Yeah, that's what I'm shocked, Becca, how I guess I shouldn't be anymore, how people run with nonsense. How you doing, Nocturnal? And then by the end of an hour or two over here, then they're all like, oh, now we understand. Hey, what's going on, Vinny G? How you doing? We kind of dispensed with the freedom fighter aspect tonight, Vinny. Yeah, we know what the culture is, Nicole. We're exploring what the cultural history is. We're not looking at, we're understanding the Christians within the Iraqi society, and it's been very eye-opening to me tonight. Hey, Kelly, how you doing, sweetie? We're not discussing what's Iraq today, because what's Iraq today is a mess. We're talking strictly about the Christian. Yep, Vinny, it's the usual. It's the usual. Well, I'm here to talk about history, Nicole. I can't stop the current hate and oppression that goes on in Islamic countries, but I can certainly discuss the roots of Assyria and understand a little more about the culture. And that was my goal tonight, to understand how Iraq came into being and how Assyria disappeared. And the fact that there ain't going to be any freedom fighters for Assyria, because there ain't a hell of a lot left of it except the people. Yeah, there's good people there that are fighting the good fight. Christians in a sea of hell. Iraq on the for what gain? For my own personal educational enhancement, and to share an interesting story with people, which I've done tonight. Yeah, Iraq Christian war crime. Exactly, Vinny. It all comes out. Actually, there is, Dave. There is definitely a pure Assyrian bloodline. Yeah, I guess Tilly maybe, but people that swallow that. I mean, they eventually come over here, and then they understand what the talking points are. Mesopotamia. Yeah, Google it. That's the Assyrians, or the Christians. Yeah, Bree, I hope you're doing good. I enjoyed seeing you on the chat today. I hope you're doing good. No, I'm not scraping the bottom of the barrel. I found something that fascinated me last night, and it's my show, and I talk about it. As far as raising money is concerned, ain't gonna happen here. Chili says I know quite a bit about scripture. Yeah, I just found it fascinating that the waves of persecution and slaughter they're almost heroic in a lot of ways. I don't know if I don't know how they stand it, to be honest. Good night, Mr. Z. Love you. Love you. Yeah, thank you, Bree. I appreciate that. Yeah, people of intelligence know what the deal is. Yeah, I'd say you're pretty smart, Tilly, from what I've seen. You come over, you ask the question, and you get satisfied. Tilly's passionate. I like that. Oh man, that's funny. Tilly's got the fire. I'm gonna have to make Tilly a freedom fighter, huh? I love Tilly. If you love this world, you do not have the love of the Father. Yeah, I find history. I've always found history very fascinating, and I found myself last night not even understanding how the nation of Iraq came to be, and how Assyria folded up, and what was their ultimate demise. And like most things in life, it all comes down to religion. You bet, Tilly. Always have your back, baby doll. Yeah. Your people came from Adam and Eve. No, he went to a Wi-Fi spot, I think. Yeah, Kenny G knows the word. Kenny G is very nice. I've talked to Kenny G before. Very nice person. I'm actually glad to see Kenny G back again. No, I've never seen you got played before, Tilly. Yeah, I don't think the coin's gonna roll in at Assyrian freedom fighters. What the hell? That's funny. Grab another beer. I'll be right back. You know I love you, but I can't forget. Oh, it's nice to see Susan in here tonight. Chili's like, I'm so reactionary. You know what, Chili? That's your acute drama button. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, that's what I say, Scott. Aliens must look at our planet and think, what the fuck? Exactly. Exactly. Now I picked up some beer today. So my husband is seen and go through horrible things so you can be who you are. Yes, I appreciate that. I'm always one of the most grateful things for veterans. I've done more things on Veterans and Memorial Day than any other channel down here on the bottom of YouTube, period. Yeah, thank you, Susan. Tilly Mae, you're like, remember Batman? Did you ever see Batman? You're young. You're a baby, but in the old days, they would shine the bat light up in the sky, right? You'd be like one of the bat warriors. Damn, damn, damn. Tilly Mae, where is Tilly Mae? Tilly Mae. Tilly's like the first one in there, like the lead ninja that just comes in. And I have to be the one, Tilly, you just took out our own warrior, but we still love you. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. I don't want to go viral. I just want to keep enjoying my time on YouTube. Tasha said, bottom of YouTube seems like the cream of the crop to me. Hey, Linnell. Well, Joe, I don't know. I'm not really sure. You have to study Islam. Okay, Marshall, you have to study Islam sometimes, and you really have to get an idea. There must be something deeper than money to that, you know? All right. Yeah, then just leave, okay? Because you haven't done any more for me than anybody else has. So you can take your show on the road and do your own thing. How you doing, Marshall?
Hey, what's up?
Well, what's up is number one, brother. I ain't raising money for a Syrian freedom fighter. I hate to be the one to break the bad news. I did a lot of research today, Marshall, by the volume load. I know more about Assyrian culture and history and Iraq. And two takeaways are: I feel really bad for your what would I say? The historical context of your people. I think is tragic. Take care, Becca. I think that's been absolutely tragic, the decimation and the rolling Holocaust and ethnic cleansings that have occurred over there. But number two, you should be very glad that your country, your family was able to make it the hell out of there. You know? I mean, that's a pretty amazing thing. But I don't see any basis for, I Googled freedom fighters and people that are fighting the fight. I could not find any active organizations that were doing anything, Maybe.
Well, there are organizations out there, but there's some organizations there are some organizations out there that are doing it through a political party, and some of them are just pure. These organizations are being funded through political parties or the church. You see, that's what's confusing about it. So it's one thing for Assyrian aid, but then there's also another thing for like an Assyrian. There actually is Assyrian soldiers that are funded by private people's money and stuff that are protected.
Yeah, but who do they fight, Marshall? The odds seem astounding. Good night, RB King. Thank you. The odds just seem absolutely staggering to me that I don't even know. Do you fight the Kurds? Do you fight the ethnic Turks? Do you fight the Iranians? I mean, you're a pool. you're
they're, they're not
Christianity within.
They're not fighting the Iraqi government or fighting the Kurds. They're fighting. The terrorist groups, ISIS. They're working with. They're fighting the terrorists. They're not fighting. The fight isn't. But also, let me tell you something. I talked to this one guy. He was a young guy that came from Iraq, and it was an interesting story. He okay, like in Iraq in the north, the Kurds have the control. So what they did was, like maybe 10 years ago, they got all this money from the Kurdish government to build all these houses for Assyrian Christians and stuff. And while they were building these houses, the Assyrian Christians were being told, one day we're going to take your houses. So they got all this money from the Kurdish government. A guy named Sargis Aghajan, that was an Assyrian guy, but he worked with the Treasury Department with the Kurdistan government, with the Kurds. And he had all this money to build all these houses for the Assyrians. And then all the Assyrians moved in them. And then when ISIS came and took over because of Obama's messed up foreign policy, I guess, all the Assyrians fled, and all those houses that the Kurdish government had apportioned money to build houses for Assyrians and to have, we're the indigenous people, all those houses, when all these Assyrians, like this Iraqi guy that I talked to, young Iraqi guy in his 20s, came to Chicago, they left because of ISIS. All those houses that were built for the Assyrians with the Kurdish money were then taken over by Kurds, by Kurdish Muslims.
I know with the consent, but you got
right. So it's like in other words, everything is it's a confusing thing, because it's like you have all these groups, but the people that are there, they know. The question is, who is the real fight with? Who's the allies of America and stuff? So it's like,
well, that's what confuses me, Marshall. Because when I think of like Assyrian freedom fighters, I think to myself, well, who in the hell are you fighting? Now, ISIS is extreme Islamic forces, but then you have the Kurds, which are no friends of the Assyrian people. They have a history of slaughter and decimation of Assyrians too. And I'm wondering, okay, so what's the end game for Assyria? You join and ISIS gets put down. Then what do you expect? Some carve out in Iraq that's going to be a small Assyrian homeland?
Well,
like
what we're aiming for is kind of like how the Native Americans have a reservation. We're aiming for our own little reservation where we have our own little like district where we work with the Kurds and work with the Iraqi government, and we have our own little thing going on, and we can govern our own, like have our own government within ourselves, with our people. Because what's going on is that the Americans are only protecting the green zone in Baghdad, as far as I know. Once you get out of the green zone and you're an American or you work for Americans, you could be in trouble and stuff. So that's as far as I know. They're not in northern Iraq, or they're not protecting anything outside of the green zone in Baghdad, as far as I know. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe somebody else knows. But as far as I know, that's what's going on. Maybe things have changed. But I think Trump is pulling all the military out, it seems like, out of Syria. That's a different situation, though. But the same situation is going on in Syria that's going on in Iraq. All the Syrians are going to Lebanon because of the war in Syria. And all the people in Iraq are leaving Iraq, and they're going to Australia, they're going to Europe, because all the stuff that's going on in Iraq. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So,
well, please tell people that I'm not raising, let's just get that squared away, that I'm not raising money for Assyrian freedom fighters. Okay, I don't know where you got that idea, but I'm here to just talk about the culture and the history. Just fascinated the hell out of me today. But I'm not raising any money for freedom fight. I don't even know what the hell they would fight for, Marshall.
Well, it's not only that; it's also Assyrian aid to families over there. It's not just a
Assyrian aid to family. That's fine. I wouldn't have an issue for that, but I'm not here to be a fundraiser.
But without the security, without the freedom fighters, without the security, the aid is useless, because all they're going to do is ISIS just comes over and takes over literal cities and stuff. So without the Kurds and the Iraqi government and Assyrian soldiers that are being funded by private people to fight them, there's no point of sending the aid, because all they're going to do is just kill the people and take the cities and stuff. So the most important thing is the fighters, because without them, you don't have security. You have no stabilization. And let me tell you something. Let me just tell you what happened in Chicago. There was a killing. Do you remember? It was, I think, 2010. Do you remember the bombing they had at the Chaldean church in Iraq in 2010, and the priest got killed? Okay.
I have it right here. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, yeah. I got into some big trouble at the Assyrian rally in downtown Chicago in 2010, because I was calling for an Assyrian militia, but that's not what they were calling for. They were calling for peace or whatever other bullshit that they were calling for, and I almost got arrested because I was calling for Assyrian militia back in 2010. And you fast forward, 10 years, and now everybody wants a militia, because the only way to protect the people is through the Assyrian militia and stuff.
Yeah, in 2010, Sunni Islamist groups attacked the Syrian Catholic Church in Baghdad during Sunday evening mass on the 31st of October 2010, killing 60 and wounding 78 Christians there. So
exactly, without security, you have no stabilization of the region. You can't. It's useless sending the aid, because the most important thing is the security, and then you send the aid. So, what's the point of? It's like saying, you go to the airport without TSA. Would that make sense? Would it make sense if we take the TSA out of the airport? Of course, you need TSA in this time and day, right? Would it take sense to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to have police in Santa Rosa and stuff. I mean, would it make sense? It's like saying every society needs security, needs police, needs order, right? So it's like that's the whole thing. And over there, it's like the game bangers over there are ISIS and stuff. So who controls? I mean, do we let the gangs or ISIS take over the Middle East? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like,
well, the thing that struck me, Marshall, after a lot of the research that I did tonight, was simply the fact that this is a group of people, Christians within a nation, that are in a sea of Islamic people there, and I really see no way of ever feasibly planning or taking any kind of action that would ever.
No, but the Assyrian military is not so Assyria can rise again and take over the Iraqi or Kurdish government. It's to protect the villages and cities that the Christians reside in. It's simple security and self-governing of a certain region of people. It's like saying you have a security force for the Native Americans on the reservation. It's not a force where we're trying to bring Assyria back to take over Iraq.
You're trying to protect what you have.
You're trying to, exactly.
Okay.
That's what I think that's what you're misunderstanding. It's not a force to overthrow the Iraqi government. It's a force of people that are to protect these people, exactly, protect what we have. Because if you don't protect that, then all those people are going to die or get slaughtered, or they're going to have to leave or whatever, and then we'll have no footprint there at all. Then basically we'll just be. I've always said this to myself too. I think that it's actually better for Assyrians to get out of there, because people's lives are in danger. It's actually better if everybody just gets out and let them have their bloodbath and stuff.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I heard that Paparet passed Tilly Bay. I offered a little pair. Paparet had been on a couple times with me and on the side chat. God bless you, Paparet. And
well, I wanted to do my research too.
I want to be clear about this though, because you talk about freedom fighters, it's important to differentiate that from groups that may want to preserve and give aid to people that might be marginalized in a type of situation. Because for me, I'd get the hell out because it's dangerous as hell.
But a lot of these people, some people can't get out. Like right now, what I heard, for example, all the people leaving Syria to go into Lebanon, Lebanon is being inundated. They have a huge problem, like much more than we do with Mexicans coming here. They have a huge problem with Syrians going to Lebanon because all the stuff that's going on in Syria. The countries of Lebanon is being overflooded with Syrians. Yeah. And Iraq. And so many countries are only going to accept so many people. So what do these people do? What do? We let these people suffer over there? Or do we help these people? And people have chose to help the people that are there that can't get out. Some of these people can't get out. There's no way for them to get out and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think it's incumbent on those, people like yourself to pick up the cause and do that. But, as being many generations in America, I have to look at the things. Thank you, Pecan Baby. I have to look at the things that are going on in our own hemisphere and on Mexico and places like that, and the need that we have in this country.
I think, Rosie, I'll be honest with you. I think the people that help the Assyrians are really religious Christian people. I don't think that people out there that are not really religious are helping out. I think they're helping the Assyrians out, not because we're great Assyrian people, we have an empire, but because we're Christian. So I think that the conservative right of America, the Christians are helping Assyrians because they're Christians. And then Assyrians are helping Assyrians because they're Christian, but plus we're patriotic and stuff. So Christians are helping Assyrians from a religious side, and people like me, I want to help my people more because I'm actually more patriotic than religious. I'm actually more of I'm more of a nationalist.
Yeah, so I finally understood.
Yeah.
And I don't like the way you live your life, but I understand now some of the pride that you feel in being Assyrian because there ain't a lot left of it, Marshall. There's not a lot from my research and stuff. 1% of the people in Iraq are now Assyrians, and basically they're spread out all over the world now. So it really, I can understand why you wave the flag. I can understand why you hold the culture up and why you talk about that. I mean, I can truly understand that.
The Chaldeans, the Chaldeans are actually, and I was going to bring up Michigan. There's a huge Chaldean population in Michigan, and all Chaldeans is Assyrians who defected from the original church and joined the Catholic Church. Yeah. Those people, they call them the Chaldean Assyrian Catholics. They don't like to call themselves Assyrian, but they really are. But that's another sad thing that's going on within our people. That religion, Christianity divided us, and in a way it preserved us, but then in a way it kind of divided us too as a nation and people.
Well, but then all of that goes on in a sea of Islam. That's what shocks me. That's what absolutely shocks me. But as far as anybody ever doing any fundraising here, that would get zero traction in this kind of community because people are more.
I don't think that the average
what's going on. Thank you, Tilly Mae. People are more into what's going on in this hemisphere and our own.
I don't think your audience is a big Christian audience. I think if you had I don't think that your community is religious. I think if you had a religious community following you with Christians, you would get some support for fundraising. But I just don't think that your audience is a Christian. I don't believe that they're a Christian religious audience, because if they were, they would help out other Christians. Christians always help out Christians.
No, but there's a question of where do you help out? How about the Christians in Honduras? How about the Christians in other countries, in Russia, and Christians that face persecution in other places? It's a lot of choices out there. It's a big board, Marshall, and you've got to be very pointed with your aid and help. You know what I'm saying? So willy-nilly to point out that the Assyrians are under pressure, which they are. I can see that. But they're no more under pressure than, you know, the Armenians fighting back to Azerbaijanis over there. Hello, Henry. With the religious wars. I mean, Azerbaijan and Armenia have been at war for, God, I don't know, 15 since the collapse of the Soviet Union. I mean, there's another Christian country that's bordering a country.
I think one of these organizations had a YouTube video. I looked up donate Assyrian. I've been trying to kind of understand this too. I wanted to know what was going on in Iraq and Syria, where people are at, what they need, and what the goal is. I've been trying to educate myself more on it and figure out, you know, like what's going on, because there's so many organizations and there's different things that are going on. But like I said, the average person living here in America watching the Super Bowl isn't worried about it because they're not aware of what's going on. They're too busy with mainstream media and stuff. Most American people don't know what's going on in the world.
Yeah, I'm trying to drill down what Otis says. This is about making him money. Can't you see it? I am beyond frustrated. In what way, Oda May? Because there's no fundraising being done. To me, it's a historical exploration tonight of something that fascinated me that Marshall said last night. In what way? Yeah, go ask Jimmy Swaggart for money there. So, in what way is that? For me, it's satisfying my curiosity about history. Oh, but there is no money here, Oda May. There's no. You know, how is he going to, I mean, I'm not seeing, you know, I don't have any links to any donation size. I'm also of the opinion that any such money is useless. If you ever felt like it, give directly to an Assyrian aid organization if you wanted to, or better yet, our own Red Cross and our own services here in the United States of America. But I can understand why somebody would be passionate about the homeland, but there's no money would be thrown down a rat hole unless it was something for, you know, some kind of dire need. And I don't see any. I see actually some stability now over in that. I don't see a lot of you know, death and destruction going on right now. Yeah, of course you can, Vinny. Of course you can. Vinny says, "May I state something?" Of course.
But yeah, I don't think people, like I said, they don't really know what's going on because most people aren't. They're not. They don't really watch international politics and stuff of what's going on and stuff.
Well, I never gave it another notice. Oh, your boots on the ground, the 34th parallel. I never gave it much notice until last night. And I thought to myself, what the hell did I really know about that? You know, Susan, money's a consequence of success down here. It's not a guy.
Rosie, I wanted to let you know there's this website. It's called Assyrian International News Agency. It's called A.
Yeah, I saw that tonight. It was a whole list of a lot of different.
And they keep up to date the political what's going on with the Assyrians in Iraq and Syria, and it is a very good website that compiles all these events of what's going on over there.
Yeah,
different things.
Vinny, post what you want over there. It's fine. You don't have to ask my permission.
Did you go to that website?
Yeah, I did. I saw a whole catalog of individual stories down the left hand side.
Did you happen to read any of those?
I did not read any of them. I only looked at it in as much as I thought that I might see something about a freedom fighting or some type of military. I didn't see anything like that. So I never looked into anything deeper than just an over.
I think that they're out there. Like I said, I found even a YouTube video. They're out there. I just don't think that you found them and stuff. I don't think that you found them. They're out there. It's happening. There is.
I don't understand the fight. I don't understand. You know, you've already got major forces fighting ISIS and other things. I don't know what Armenians would think that they would be.
Well, think about it. If you have an Assyrian town with Assyrian Christians, who are the people going to trust more to protect them? The Kurds, the Iraqi government, or our own Assyrian Christian soldiers?
Well, of course, you're Assyrian Christian soldiers, but don't you understand that that will always put you at odds with the major ruling party? And if the stands shift, your Assyrian protective force will be just rolled over like the tide and be gone in a heartbeat. Let's see. Muslims or Christians in Australia have been jailed for marrying underage girls. Well, which is it, Vinny? I'm not sure. I mean, we got, you know, I'm not sure what the yeah, I think in a way it's just not important to us. But the important thing tonight was to look at things from a historical context and try to understand the history of what happened to Assyria.
I'm trying to look for this the fund Assyrian military. I don't think that you were able to find anything, huh, Rosie?
I looked and I looked. You know, I did the broad Google search, and what that has is everything just ranked on search. But when I did 2019, like within the last year, 2018, 19, I found nothing of any organization that purports to be like a fighting organization for Assyrian freedom.
Actually, well, let me see. There is the Nineveh Plain Protection Units, the NPU, formed in 2014. I don't know if they're still about the MPU. Nineveh Plains. Actually, here it is. The Nineveh Plains Funds.org. This is an actual, and there was another one that even had a YouTube. The Nineveh Plain Defense Fund, actually, yeah, that's the website. Nineveh Plains Defense Fund. Am I still here?
Yeah, I'm looking up something.
Yeah.
Okay, to me it said this. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. The Nineveh is a nonprofit corporation in the state of Illinois, established in 2016, formed by a group of activists and supporters of the Nineveh Plain Protection Unit. Our goal is to support the well-being of the men and women who serve and protect our rights in our homeland.
Yep, that is an organization that does that, and I like I said, I did. That's one of them. That's one of them right there. That was formed right there in Illinois and Chicago. And
okay, but it's not a fight. Okay, it's supporting.
Yeah, it is. It is a fighting force. It is.
They're sanctioned within the current government, correct or not? I mean,
well, yeah. This is a or I guess this is an organization that was started in Illinois. This is legit. This is right there in Chicago.
But I'm just saying this organization cannot exist without the protective force of, say, the United States having, set up new government in Iraq and stuff to allow this type of organization. Certainly these people aren't going to pick up guns and fight whomever. They're just protecting their own selves.
Yeah, it says here additional information is available at the Department of Justice, Washington, D.C. This is approved by the United States government.
Okay, so this is the United States government then. Okay.
Yes. This is down there.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, because there ain't no way that they can just be some wild ass independent force. They can't be some wild ass independent force going out there and just,
they were established in 2014 because the local Kurdish Peshmerga soldiers, they call them the Peshmerga soldiers, were abandoned by both. The local Assyrian people of the Nineveh Plains, they were abandoned by the Kurdish Peshmerga soldiers and the Iraqi army soldiers as the Islamic State advanced, the ISIS. So that's why they formed us, because that's what they're saying right here.
Yeah. Okay. But I was trying to be clear that this is not some radical wild-ass splinter group that's doing underground fundraising to try to fight.
It says here, it says here, you want me to read this?
Well, I mean, I read it. I just went to the website. I'm not particularly interested, but
it says they were formed in 2014 because in the Nineveh Plains, the Kurdish Peshmerga soldiers, 2 weeks before ISIS invaded, and the Iraqi soldiers of the government of Iraq, they left the Assyrian Christian towns for no protection. So it says in 2016, I guess, they joined another group called the Nineveh Liberation Operation Command, and then they were being led by the government of Iraq to defeat the Islamic State and liberate Nineveh and occupied territories. That's what they're saying here. So, yeah, and this is the real deal. So I've heard of this. Yeah, so I think that they're still there, and they're working. Long-term goals of creation of the Nineveh. Yeah, they're working with the Kurdish government and Iraqi government in America.
Good night, Tilly May. Love you, honey. Well, it's certainly been an eye-opener for me, what I learned today. But I understand now there ain't no rifles being picked up on behalf of trying to establish.
I just read that this is a real organization that's that's approved by America, and that's working with the Kurds and Iraqi government to fight ISIS. And this organization was created.
One organization amongst many, many organizations, and
but this organization is affiliated with, they call it the Assyrian Democratic Movement, called ZOA. That political party has been in with Assyrians for a long time.
He says, all you people do realize if you all had to live in the Middle East, you would be forced to live by their rules. Yes, that's famous for that, Vinny G. Like I said, ISIS is pretty much dead over there, like Vinny said. But yes, you would definitely live by the rules, and there's no doubt that trans, gays, we would all be thrown off rooftops.
Here's where it says, the Nineveh Plain Protection Units were established in 2014 by the Assyrian Democratic Movement, which is called ZOA, after the invasion of Mosul and the Nineveh Plain by the Islamic State. In March 2016, the Nineveh Plain Protection Units officially joined the Nineveh Liberation Operation Command, the campaign being led by the government of Iraq to defeat the Islamic State and liberate Nineveh and other occupied territories. So, and I think they're still there, and I think people are still giving money, and I think they're still there.
Yeah, I'm telling Vinny, I wouldn't raise a thin dime. Not my war, but definitely my history. Very fascinating to me. To go back and study the roots of the birth of Iraq as a nation out of the after the king in 1921 and the British Mandate.
I guarantee you, if you had a Christian audience, they would donate. But I don't think that your audience. I don't believe that any of your audience are Christian.
Problems here, Marshall. There's too many problems here. That's too far afield. As far as an interesting point of discussion, it's great. But in terms of,
I don't believe that any.
There's no way in God's green earth that anybody would give a slim dime to that. Okay, that's
the reason that they wouldn't is because they're not real Christians. I don't believe that anybody that watches you is a real Christian.
Christians can only spread themselves so thin, Marshall. Okay, we got battles in our own hemisphere and feed the poor and clothe the naked and shelter. We got our own Christian problems here. We don't need to seek out, Assyrian. Look at what Kim Kardashian and them do for Armenia. Let Gabriel or whoever that singer is, do that kind.
He doesn't have a lot of money. He actually blows money at the casino.
Well, I mean, what?
Actually, yeah. One time when I was a kid, I was arguing with him. I was arguing with him on
Vinny G is going to be on the ground in an hour and a half out there interviewing people. That's uber cool.
Okay, listen, this is a challenge for Vinny G. I have a challenge. I have a request for Vinny G.
No, I'm gonna finish this topic here, Marshall. Yeah. And I'm just gonna say you can't expect people here to pick up that cause. My thing here was to explore the roots of where
I got a challenge for Vinny G, because Australia has a lot of Assyrians.
Let me finish what I'm talking about, Marshall.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm saying for me it was understanding the roots of this whole situation and understanding how we got here today. I did not know. I certainly knew about the collapse of Turkey after World War I and the British colonial rule and dividing up the Middle East. But I did not know about in 1921, the king was appointed there. And then in 1933, Iraq was born. And then the Ba'athist Party rose to power. There were some very interesting things that occurred that I'm very glad I explored tonight. But I do want to tell you, as far as downing people if they don't choose to back that kind of thing, it doesn't seem like the situation's dire. You know what I mean? It's not like there's a massacre ensuing or an ethnic cleansing. It seems to me that
I just have one question for the side chat, right? One question. Who in the side chat is really a real Christian? If you are, I want to know who really in.
I consider myself a Christian.
You consider, okay. Who else that considers himself a Christian?
Birdie, Helen, Vinny, I think Colleen.
I don't believe Vinny's a Christian.
Hey, Mike Moore. Oh, I believe he's. I
don't believe he is.
He might not know it, but he lives Christian virtues. You know?
I don't believe they are.
Yeah, so there's quite a few people out there that identify as Christian.
I don't believe there's a lot of people that are Christian.
But what would you define as a Christian? It's not standing up for Assyria, or somebody that maybe chooses to direct their money to a more local.
I think Christian people always help Christian people out.
Yeah, but they do. But imagine how big the world is. It's only me in an exploration tonight that brings the tragic history of Assyrians to light. But you know, you have enough Assyrian people.
You know, somebody was saying they were saying that or somebody mentioned in a comment that there's a lot of transgender that commit suicide.
Yes.
And they were saying they actually asked a question to you, or maybe it was on my side chat or something. They're asked, like, why don't you raise money for these transgender that are committing suicide?
And Chaz said, Elvis, you admit to being agnostic and or atheist, therefore you can't be Assyrian because they're mostly Christian. So it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I mean, it cuts a lot of different ways. Why don't I raise money? Because I don't think, for what? Awareness? I think each individual person has to fight their own battle. Myself for recognition and for, you know, you got to take care of your own backyard too. You can't depend on some blanket organization to do that. I'm very despondent about what happened to Assyria. But then on the other hand, I don't feel like I'm personally responsible for that which happened. I feel it's incumbent upon those Assyrians that are in the diaspora that live all over the rest of the world, that have had great success in places like America, to take responsibility as their community for what happens in Iraq and those places. So when they're doing that Christian Defense Fund, that Assyrian thing, I think that's a fantastic thing. I think that's a beautiful thing that they're doing. And I want to tell you that it is more their responsibility than anybody in the community here. Now, some people may feel otherwise. Any need to present is, that's not my sort of thing. It's like Kat said on the side chat, the Jews did it and took care of their own. I think the Assyrians, although there's quite a few righteous friends of Israel and stuff.
But the Jews are being funded by America.
No, they were being funded by Britain. They were being self-funded by Europe. You had
Right.
the you know, the great
The
push.
British let the Assyrians down in Iraq in history. They let them down.
Well, let me ask you. People are saying, what have you donated to the Assyrian National Front there that's protecting?
I've been an Assyrian activist and nationalist for over 10 years. I'm really well known for that. They actually in 2010 when that bombing happened and the one you brought up, I went to downtown Chicago and I was marching for Assyrian rights, and I was calling for an Assyrian militia, and they thought I was too extreme. I almost got arrested for that. And I was interviewed by Assyrians Around the World TV program.
Well, I'm saying hard cash on the barrelhead. You know what I'm saying, Helen? It's all good. I'm very interested in the subject myself from a historical perspective, not from an aid perspective. So if anybody else had an idea that this,
I think anybody who's
let me finish, Marshall. If anybody else had an idea tonight that this was some glorified fundraiser, that's certainly been thrown out the window at this point. But Marshall, I think that there's plenty of successful Assyrian people that have been in this diaspora that are spread out all across the globe that do have the wherewithal to fund that. And they're the first ones that should be, they're the first line of contributors to that. But when we see things in this country and like Tucker highlights, like St. Jude's and things like that, they're things that we can all rally around. They're things that everybody can agree is important. Those things are very rare to rally upon. My point tonight was to tell you, you know, you have a very fascinating lineage. I learned a lot about Assyria in the last 24 hours. Like I said, I've had volumes and volumes of reading here. It's fascinating how rare real Assyrians are today. I'm glad that you take pride in your culture. I finally understand a little bit about that. But I think that you should.
I'm just trying to.
I think that you should hold yourself up as a model to the Assyrian community. If you can make yourself a model to these people, to show people what's possible and to live a life of success and to go be a contributing force, so that you do have money to give to these kind of forces. Because I've been very impressed with the tragic history of Assyrians and Assyria. But I also think it's more on you than us, with your background, to do your things to try to aid them out. I can pray for these people. I can have compassion. But as far as cash money, it doesn't make me any less of a Christian if there's no money at the end of it, at least in my opinion, because the need is not so great, I don't think, right now, as if there's desperate Red Cross packages and things like that. Yeah, Coach said we're a prideful people. We don't ask for money out here. So I think people like to do that silently. But it is a very fascinating lineage. It's like Free Birdie's great uncle is Robert E. Lee. Exactly. You know? Okay, thank you, Helen. Love seeing you in here, honey. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, Assyrians do ask. There are Assyrian activists out there, and
I guess the next question is, Marshall, how come so many settled in Chicago? What was the attraction of Chicago for Assyria?
As far as I know, a lot of Assyrians came to Chicago in the 1920s from Iran, the very educated creme de la creme Assyrians, and we're talking about doctors, lawyers, really, really affluent people that came and they settled in Chicago in the 20s, and then they had children that became first-generation American Assyrians. So right now, there's some Assyrians that don't even speak Assyrian, but they came here in the 1920s, in the very early days.
Well, I think the first wave. I'm letting you off the hook for the money. Well, you know, clearly he didn't donate any money, Nomadic to the Hater Todd. I asked him point blank, but like I say, it's more on him than me to fund. He's kind of the first line of saving of Assyria and preserving that culture. To me, thank God, the British had the presence of mind, as much as it might be viewed as cultural thievery to go over there, and the British were famous for gutting out historical sites in the Middle East. But now I find myself thinking, thank God that they had the presence of mind to take the treasures of Assyria and take them to London.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Can I mention this website, Rosie?
You can mention whatever you want.
Okay,
yeah.
there's this website I just found that it's most people, that's where they donate for.
Well, let me make sure this is legit.
Okay, this is the website, theassero.org, theacero.org. It says, I see a lot of Assyrians that donate to this. Please help make a difference. Today, thousands of displaced people need your assistance. Sora Village for displaced Assyrians in Iraq. This is a website that I've seen a lot of Assyrians donate to. They have Syria Aid, and Syria says, unfortunately, a lot of Assyrians in Syria fled Syria as a result of the civil war.
But you're spreading all over Syria. You're spreading all over Moses.
Well, let me just. In Syria, they had to leave because of the war, and most of them, it says here, let's see what they're saying. They're working, Assyria was working actively in Syria for provision of food and medical relief in Syria. And Mosul, Iraq, as media reports began to convey extensive the damage in Mosul and surrounding areas of Nineveh, and other mass exodus of Christians has commenced. Most vulnerable, yeah, so they're helping out in Mosul too. What's the Krasnodar disaster relief? What's that? Let me think. This is in July 2012. Assyria launched an international campaign in Krasnodar, Russia, by major flooding, left 171 people dead and more 25,000 people. I think there's Assyrians there. I guess I don't know. Dohuk housing complex. Am I still here?
Yeah, I'm just trying to see how much is sucked up in administrative overhead in this thing.
No, this is an organization that
they've got people that are being paid to run it.
No. This money goes through the church, the Assyrian Church of the East, at this organization. I've seen a lot of Assyrians donate to this organization, so I think it's a credible organization. Actually, it's actually through the church, I think. Assyro, yep.
Okay.
From what I've seen, reports about us. I mean,
doesn't the Red Cross operate?
This is the Assyrian Church of the East Relief Organization. It's a non-for-profit. It says it donates 100% of all funds directly towards helping needy Assyrians and their need. That's what it says right here. Every day. So this goes through the church.
Let's see. Mike said, Marshall, if he wants people to donate to him or an Assyrian charity. Well, Mike Moore, you certainly hit something there, didn't you?
I love Isaiah 19:25. Blessed be Assyria, the work of my hands. That's what God says. Isaiah 19:25.
Let me answer Covert Radio. Why feed his enemy? Why give him shelter and validation? Covert Radio, my answer to that is I'm here on my own show tonight to discuss history and to learn the history of the Middle East, particularly as it pertains to Assyria, Iraq, and the Assyrians, what the Assyrians are doing today. So this is my reason.
The guy that's in charge of this is His Grace Mar Afram Athniel, chairman. His Grace is the Bishop of Syria, diocese headquarters in Al-Hasaka province, Syria. He's the current chairman of the Assyrian Church of the East Relief Organization. This is through the church. That's why Assyrians donate to this. This is the real deal. This website that people can donate to to help these people out. This is done through our church. I'm
saying I wouldn't expect a lot out of. We got too many things close to home. But the deal is here. that I did come to an appreciation for Assyria that I never had known before on here, and just in terms of the lineage and how rare Assyrians are, and all about the Christianity, and all about how a great number of Assyrians are really fighting for Christian beliefs in the Middle East, you know, in a sea of, I don't think he knows a lot either, Henry, but I'm certainly not the standard history, but just how there's not much left. My big takeaway from all of my research and stuff was that there's not much left of Assyrian, the line of Assyria anymore. You know?
Well, here, January 29th, it says Armenia Appeal Project. They're doing something in Armenia here. Renovation of a 2-floor building for an Assyrian kindergarten in the village of Varan. I guess this is in Armenia.
Thank you, Flaming.
They're completing 120 children aged 2 to 6 years old child care educational. It says it here on the website. They're helping Assyrians in Armenia.
Yeah, I'm not blocking anybody. I can't say the same for my mods. I wouldn't have blocked you on there, or you're timed out. But you know, I don't have anybody on the. Very few people are on a block here. This is an open chat. If people didn't like the topic or stuff, they didn't have to watch tonight. So
and right now, January 15th, they had an aid distribution. 61 families they helped out for in Turkey. It's all on their website here, what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm happy they do that. That's a responsibility, and I'm glad that they organize for that.
Yeah.
But you can understand though that a lot of us, and I don't want you to take this is said in the spirit of being absolutely courteous, but making a point, that we care much more about what goes on within our own country, because we have big problems here and things that need.
We're a very rich country. We're a very rich country.
We have the biggest, you know, income imbalances in history, and inequality of you know, incomes and distribution of wealth that we've had since the 90s.
We're a very rich country, Rosie. We have Bill Gates, the richest man in the world.
We're not that rich, Marshall. It's a very thin veneer of the Jeff Bezoses and the Bill Gates. It's a fast drop off to middle class here. That, you know, I mean,
know there's a lot of Odas in this country.
I just think that the real situation now is what goes on. Yeah, we're not rich. We're broke, Marshall. In point of fact, when you look at our national balance sheet. Thank you, Mike Moore said this is the second time you came prepared. I do my work. I do my research before I come on here, and I'm not here to kiss anybody's butts. But I think it's a rarity to have somebody that is Assyrian. And now I finally understand a little pride of the culture, that I can understand why you have the flag and some of those things, and why that means something to you. It's like if I celebrate my Irish heritage on St. Patrick's Day and things like that, and have my little Erin go bra and my flag with the harp on it. And, you know, I feel, or the Italians, and Vinny with his Belgique heritage and all that kind of stuff. So I think... yeah, I can answer that. Chaz says, ask well, Elvis. I can tell you why Saddam was great. To the Assyrian people, Saddam was great because he protected the Assyrian people from persecution by the forces of Islam within the country. Yeah, of course you can, Vinny G. Absolutely. Anything you want, Vinny. That was the positive thing. That was the only, well, at point of within that society, that was, to my mind, the only positive thing that Saddam Hussein did was to protect the Assyrians from being persecuted. Oh, Bergs is calling and apologizing. I get it. Okay. I don't think he's blocked in here. I don't have Bergs blocked. He can show up. I mean, I'm not. Let me just go see. Hold on a minute. Let me just see. I don't believe I have him blocked. Like I said, people are welcome on the panel, but I don't have people getting shrill, and I won't have that. So if if they're shrill, then it's like I can't have it on the channel. So if you're nice and you can carry on like tonight, we've had a decent discussion here, then I'm very happy. If not, then I don't need you around the around the chat here. Let me see his. Let me see. Make sure. But I certainly do appreciate the heritage, and I do appreciate the fact that Assyria is okay. All right, Bergs, you're unblocked. That Assyria has been under attack for over thousands of years, but mainly by Islam, Marshall. That's been the big one that's washed over.
Oh, did you know that Tariq Aziz was Assyrian?
Yep.
Yeah, the Tariq Aziz, that he was the close advisor of President Saddam Hussein.
I would agree, Ghetto. On balance, Saddam was the disaster. All he did was impose cruel, draconian laws that had the population living in fear. And the ones that benefited from that were the Assyrians, with that they had protection that they never dreamed of when they were, they were enjoying the protection of Saddam. But otherwise, I'm sorry, Saddam was a terrorist. He was a he was a defiler of the people, a defiler of the treasury, and his sons were a disgrace. And I'll always say that. But I'm glad that he stood up for Assyria. He did well. He did one good thing in my mind, and that was about it, at least in my opinion. Now you might have, Saddam was fucked up, but he kept the country in order by fear. That's exactly right, Coach. That's exactly right. Andrew Hondo, I don't have you blocked out here, Andrew Hondo. Yeah, his sons love the 80s movies like Pretty in Pink. Well, yeah, education, exactly, Free Birdie. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Henry Hobson. He definitely looted his country. There was things taken. There was tremendous amounts of gold moved overseas to the UK and even to the United States, to the Federal Reserve branches in New York City and Chase Manhattan Bank. But Assyria was glad that
my dad really used to like what's his name? This is his name, Abdul Karim Qasim, the military general ousted by the Ba'athists. It said he actually did protect the Syrians and gave them equal rights in the Iraqi state. He was, I think, before Saddam. My dad used to really like this guy, Abdul.
Yeah, the thing I don't understand, Chazo has a great question here. Now, I've recognized the one positive thing that I think Saddam Hussein did in having, if ruling by fear, like Nebuchadnezzar and some of the other leaders of traditional Babylon, if he ruled by fear and kept things good. But I'm just asking this, though, Marshall, when it comes to his sons, I could see no redeeming value of Saddam Hussein's two sons, except that they were sadists. And they were womanizers. They were disrespecters, even to new lows for Islamic society. Disrespecters of women, haters of culture, Iraqi culture, and despoilers of any sense of decency in any kind of ruling family. What do you think that the redeeming features of these sons were, if there were any?
Oh, I know. I saw the You mean of Saddam's sons?
Yes.
I've seen the documentary of his sons. I know the Uday was really bad. The one that was the cold one.
He was sadistic. He
was really bad. Yeah.
I know he was a serial rapist to the core.
But the other son was the one that was a lot like his dad, and I think that that Iraq, after they took out the regime, I think it was worse. I think it's worse now than what Saddam being in my opinion. It's a lot worse now than what Saddam was in. with the Islamic State, with the ISIS. It's worse.
Well, I'm going to disagree because I think like no news is good news, and we have very few, you know, well, I'm not even going to go down that road. Bergs, you're unblocked. Hondo's welcome. He's not going to be on the panel anymore to cause that problem. But I would say I would take every chat as an individual unit here. If you come on and you be decent on the chat, then it's all good. It's fine. But I'm saying his son really made my skin crawl much more than Saddam.
Oh yeah, his son was really bad.
Marshall, he had real illness. Chazzo said things are worse, right? Tell that to the Kurds and Shiites. I actually think that things are better. I did not.
They're saying here. Okay, I just tapped on the Rocky News. They're saying the Kurds are saying that it's the U.S. withdrawal from Syria is a mistake. Maybe that's going to bring ISIS back.
Well, it may very well. I mean, we're running out of gas, man, and all they have to do is just sit in the back row and just wait till we leave, and then. Yep. I did not unsub you, Bergs. I'm still sub to you. I saw your snow videos today. Okay. I don't know who you're asking it unsub you.
What do you think is going to happen with us pulling out? You think they're going to come back?
It could be potentially ugly. I know Saddam controlled the people, Keith Gregory, and Code and other people said that it kept Iraq in check. Saddam's big mistake was invading Kuwait.
It says here, are they hiding in Turkey? Because it says Kurds in Iraq say U.S. withdrawal from Syria.
Vegas Barbie, I don't know. I happily unblocked Bergs tonight. He's welcome here. But most everybody agrees, like king of all things, and those people, that Saddam, the only good thing he had was a stable society.
What do people think about Trump pulling out of? What do people?
His big fuck up was invading Kuwait. That's where he went wrong.
What do people think about Trump pulling out of Syria? Are they for it? I'm against it. I think it's a mistake. I think that this is going to bring ISIS back. I don't think this is good that he did this.
Anywhere where control recedes is going to bring in the forces of evil. Rosie, serious question, and I don't know this. Has that part of the world ever known peace? Mike Moore, surprisingly, up until the 1920s, because Turkey controlled so much of the Middle East, from Turkey down to what we know as Saudi Arabia, over that whole entire area, the crescent of Turkey there. Jordan, Syria, what we know as Jordan, Syria, Turkey, Israel, Egypt, that was all controlled by Turkey. Therefore, you had great stability. The Turks didn't care if the Jews lived in Israel and Jerusalem. They didn't care. As long as they collected their taxes, everybody lived in peace. World War I was the real great upsetter of peace in the world. That's what brought in the collapse of Turkey. It brought in the British mandates to split up the Middle East. And then we had the resulting boundary lines that were drawn in the tribal war and all of that shit that went on. Hello, Vanessa. How are you, beautiful? I'm sorry you lost your stuff, but I know you lost a lot of your contact. I'm going to get another beer, Marshall. I'll be right back. Interesting conversation tonight.
Yep. Let's see here. Oh.
Ooh. Marshall, I got a text message. Somebody said Marshall's a very interesting person when he's not being an idiot. YouTube. I thought that.
Rosie, you never talk about this. You know, I'm reading this article here, and you know they couldn't. U.S. pulled out of Iraq in 2011 because they couldn't come up with an agreement, and that's when all the shit hit the fan with ISIS.
Well, but then ISIS is, ISIS has been, it all comes down to money, Marshall, and countries like Saudi Arabia, they try to pull a lot of bullshit. You have a lot of people that live in those wealthy, or they were wealthy countries that had a ton of money when oil was riding high at 80, 100, 120, $130 a barrel. They had plenty of fun money, mad money to throw around. You know what happened to ISIS? The money sources started to dry up because oil sits at $53.22 a barrel today. Okay, so therefore, they don't have that luxury of throwing money down these fighter assholes out there in the field. The money's drying up. We're the biggest exporter of oil in the world right now, the United States. Yeah, the Subaru Bradburg. Marshall, I wanted to ask you, you had me read something out of the Bible, and I shocked a lot of people, but I'm a Bible reader. I have my Bible here. It is contained within a carrying case here. Okay, now my question to you, Marshall, you had me read a passage. I believe it was Isaiah in there. What is your expectation for how Assyria can possibly rise within the midst of all of this, with all this terrible?
I think it will rise. It says it in Isaiah and stuff. It has to rise before Jesus comes back, from my research.
Yeah, that's what I say. Vinny, you're correct. And Joe King's like, Russia actually fucked ISIS right up. Yes, they did. Yep. I don't know how you can say that, Ghetto. This benefits my channel, not Marshall, with having a chat tonight. So how does it help him? He'd be withering away without me. How so? I come on here and I have the chat, the things that I want to talk about, and the history. I'm not here talking about YouTube BS. I'm not here talking about other people's chats and what they talk about. I came on here with my own set agenda tonight to talk about history, discuss what happened to Assyria, how did we get modern day Iraq, what are Assyrian freedom fighters, and anybody that wants to turn that into a fundraising, I don't care, because it's obvious to the people that are here tonight that I'm talking about something interesting, something historical, something that has some real value here.
Again, if there's people that want to donate to the relief fund, not necessarily they can. It's done through the Assyrian church. It's called the Assyro. That's the website that I gave before. The Assyro, ACERO.
Ghetto, whether we like it or not, I mean, nobody's going to push anybody off of YouTube.
Did you hear about Iraqi president is pissed off at Trump here about trying to pull out of Iraq?
I don't know, Marshall. Marshall, it's one of those love-hate things. They love the United States. They love the allied money that gets poured in there, but they hate our guts. And most people in this country are smart enough to realize that the people in Iraq probably really hate our guts over here, but they're happy to take our money. Okay? That's the bottom line. People are smart here now. You've had enough time to get your forces into check. You've had enough oil revenue. You've had enough money there to train and equip an army. The big problem you have in Iraq is that you have Islamic radicals that don't want any of the present government except a religious government in Iraq, similar to that regime that they have in Iran, and they don't care what happens, how organized the military gets. They're going to lay down their lives until they get that kind of theocracy over in Iraq. Now, maybe the United States is smart enough to realize that you can't stand in the way of those kind of idiots. Okay, maybe we're just getting wise, and Trump's saying, "Why throw this fucking money down a rat hole when they hate our guts?" And they would wish that we were dead if they had their druthers. And they've had plenty of time to get their shit together, Marshall. And, you know, enough is enough. Maybe it'll scare them to straighten up and stop being such a ragtag bunch of military and get a little bit of spine and defend yourself. You know, I know Iran's the real threat because they're organized in their uniforms. So we've been there 30 years, Mike. I'm getting tired of it. Fucking draining this country's treasury for these people, you know. So what do we owe those people, Marshall? To my way of thinking, we've done a lot. We've done a lot, you know. I'm more concerned how you ever expected Assyria can
well, the generals, from what I heard, weren't the generals. They were telling Trump that he shouldn't pull out. They were telling him he shouldn't pull out, right? Weren't they saying that?
Are we talking about Syria, or are we talking about
both? I think the generals are against the Trump pulling out of either of Syria or Iraq, and they're the experts. They're the experts.
No, I'm saying Mike Moore's like, we spent $12 trillion fucking dollars on this thing, you know? And I'm just thinking to myself, enough is enough. If you're going to keep sustaining somebody, what interest do they have in taking care of their own? They're not scared enough. Let's tell them we're leaving. You better get your backbone up because you're going to be under assault. Okay? Yeah, Vinny said if Marshall's concerned, move there and work in the soup kitchen as a volunteer. God will appreciate his service over there. So, yeah, and why would we stay in Syria anyway? You know, Aleppo and all these shitholes in Syria. What's the point? You know?
So Rosie, what you're saying is yours for you. So why are we in Israel then? What's the difference? Why are we wasting our money in Israel?
I don't think we are. I think Israel is probably pretty much self-sustaining at this point in time. He didn't give anything, Ghetto. He said he helped out on marches and things, and I don't really care. I mean, it's up to him. It doesn't move my needle any. Hi, Precious. You know, people can give what you want. Like I said, the point of tonight was not to, despite what Marshall came on and said, this was not to be a fundraiser. This was a historical exploration here of what's going on with, you know, where did Iraq come from? Can Assyria rise again? And things like Assyrian freedom fight. Travel with Tasha says $38 billion a year. I would say that money is probably better invested in Israel than anywhere else in the Middle East, Tasha, would be my opinion. Because at least, you know, in Israel, it's being directed in ways that are, you know, innovative, defensive, and offensive if need be. So
if we pull out, then we're giving Iran the green light to really do some damage.
Well,
right?
I don't know. They might get a surprise when it comes to encountering Iraq today, you know, but it's up to the Iraqi people to stand up and be counted, you know. That's the deal, you know.
I'm trying to figure out when they pull out of Syria, what's going to happen. U.S. military sets April target leaving date for leaving Syria. What's going to happen when they pull out of Syria?
Well, Vinny B said, I'm going to put this, like Vinny said, Israel's the one that's going to control the chessboard over there, in my opinion. Let's see. Ghetto said, Rosie, all this started because Marshall wanted people to donate to Assyrian freedom fighters instead of sick kids with cancer. Well, we've raised a lot of money and I'm a proud participant in that. There was no fundraising effort, nor was there ever designed to be tonight here. I do regret that Marshall said anything on his channel. about that. But I think the people that came over certainly understood that, once they were here for a couple minutes, they understood there was no fundraising. More of a historical exploration, which I think was great tonight. No fighting, no screaming, no Jerry Springer, just good, honest dialogue. Good, honest dialogue. This is the way I want my chats to be, where we focus on a topic.
Where else should our military pull out of besides Iraq and Syria?
I think Korea Peninsula. I think we should only have enough of a nuclear deterrent force that if somebody strays across or invades the 38th parallel, it's mutually assured destruction is guaranteed at that point in time. I think, hey, Katie, I think that
ISIS is shrinking in Syria and Syrians are returning home. That's what it's saying here on CNN.
Well, it's like Vinny said, the Russians will, if you can't do it, the Russians will kick ass. So that's it.
Oh.
Thank you very much, Pecan Baby. I'm not afraid. Look, I run my own show. I don't let other people run my show. Despite what they want to try to overlay on top of it, it's abundantly clear to people that are here.
Rosie, who was funding ISIS then? Saudi Arabia?
A lot of the underlying forces of Saudi Arabia and a lot of destabilizing lovers of instability.
If the Saudis are our ally, why would they fund ISIS?
No, Marshall. There's a thin layer of rulership in Saudi Arabia, but understand there's a lot of hatred for the Saudi royal family in Saudi Arabia. And there's
also the royal family likes us, right?
Of course they do, because we sell them the great military hardware, and they can continue to oppress women and do the shit that they do in their society. But here's number two, Marshall. There's Islamic fundamentalists within the Saudi royal ruling class and the upper classes that would love very much to see a theocracy in Saudi Arabia, much like that you have in Iran. And they would fund ISIS to be a destabilizing force to make shit happen that eventually envelops the kingdom of Saudi Arabia, too, in my opinion.
Well, right now, the royal family is better than the theocracy, right?
Well, better in what way? I don't know what the trickle down is. I don't know what the trickle.
Well, in other words, would you rather have people? In other words, to support ISIS, or would you rather have people who control people? In other words, if these, so you're saying money.
Marshall, to me, it seems inevitable that those forces of United States projects force. Okay, we don't live in the Middle East. Therefore, our military efforts have to have a termination point. They have to have an end point, or else you gut this country. We're reaching the point now where we're gutting this fucking country. For what? For ISIS fighters in Syria. We've got a very strong ally now in Israel over there. I think that they're fully capable of carrying the baton. You have stability in Jordan. You have stability in Lebanon, in Egypt.
And they pulled out.
Oh, that's right, Tosh. You get rid of the whole fucking ball of wax over there.
But look what happened in 2011 when they pulled out, and ISIS when they pulled out in 2011, and then ISIS came to fruition.
Well, ISIS came to fruition as a pushback against, Bush standing on an aircraft carrier and declaring mission accomplished. We learn to keep our mouths shut now and just do the job and be effective. Okay. People don't like people that are doing end zone dances and in your face dances on the Dallas Star at the stadium, right? They like to go quietly, accomplish what you need to do. All he did was whip up the flames of opposition and the birth of ISIS and all that. So, in my opinion, I could be wrong. So that's it. Yeah, most of us support Israel in here, Minnie G. We may not like everything that occurs over there, but my God, they're a stabilizing influence.
I want to see if Vinny G can go to an Assyrian place in Melbourne.
Yeah, I would like Vinny G to see. Vinny G, I've never given you a challenge before.
I want him to go and
You've always taken every challenge and everybody's given. I would like to see you take on a Middle Eastern, see if you can find a Middle Eastern meal or some Middle Eastern remnants of Middle Eastern culture over there. See if you can find out some Persian, see if Gareb Naz delivers.
I'm gonna look up a place now for Vinny G on Yelp. Let's see. Melbourne, okay. Australia.
Yeah, he will take the challenge. I'll gladly fund him.
Is that Victoria, Australia? Is he in Village?
He's in Melbourne. I will gladly.
I know, but is he in Melbourne? Is it Victoria?
We'll send him $50 next time he goes live. I will support that. I would like to.
I'm looking up shawarma in Melbourne here.
Well, I want to see what he does. He'll take a street challenge. He'll definitely go out there, and I want to see what he digs up and puts on.
I found the place that he can go to. I found it's called Tiba's Lebanese Restaurant. It's on 504 Sydney Road, Brunswick.
Yeah, I like that, Kat. What do you think of that? Let's look at. Let me see this. Let me look it up.
I just looked it up.
Spell it for me.
Tiba's Lebanese Restaurant. Tibas.
I don't know about Lebanese. Tiba's Lebanese. I'm talking about real hardcore. Okay, they're Brunswick. Okay.
I just looked up. Is
that near him?
I don't know. I don't know what part of.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Because I got to send Vinny to the right fucking place. Hold on a minute, or else he'll kill me.
Lebanese place.
Yeah, that's in north. That's in a northern suburb, Vinny. It's up on. The hell's that up there? On Route 55, up in Brunswick.
Yeah, that's a Middle Eastern place.
Okay. Tiba's Lebanese up near Mediterranean Wholesale, Victoria. Between Victoria and Blythe on.
There's another place too that has falafel sandwiches. This place looks good.
Okay,
let me give you this one.
Take care, Vinny. See, I never enjoyed Lebanese food too much. You know, I found it a poor runner to traditional Middle Eastern. Marshall, and you said down in what did you say? You found a new restaurant? And no, that was a club. But you were. What's the? Have you seen any other places in Largo?
No, I've been finding. I've came to the conclusion that Florida has much better Indian food than Chicago.
Wow.
The food is actually better. There's more choices, and it's better for Indian food. But Middle Eastern food is very tough to find good Middle Eastern food here.
Did you go to the Mirage restaurant? Yeah, you went to there.
I went there, and I think it was better than it's improved.
Okay, what about the Mana Mana Middle Eastern restaurant?
That place is just an Israeli guy that has falafel. That's all he's got is good falafel.
Is that the Lebanese grill?
Oh, Zeki's? Nah, I don't really know a lot about that. I don't really know.
Comfort food, small plate, Cafe Sahara, Mediterranean cuisine.
That lady's a ripoff. I hate her place. She's a ripoff. Cafe Beirut, she's a ripoff. I made a video on that place. That place really sucks.
They have a place called Falafel and Cafe.
Cafe Beirut, that place, their hummus is out of a can. Literally out of a can and stuff.
Interesting. Tasha's like, I would want another falafel. I kind of like the Indian. I like the naan bread, and I like the tangine and the that. I didn't think the vindaloo on Devon Avenue looked that great. Ash says Elvis has been to Australia. When? How would he know what they are like? Ask Bergs wants to know if you can speak Persian. I don't even know if Persian's a language, is it?
I'll tell you something. I know the name of the god Ashur is Ahura Mazda in Persian. Ashur's name is Ahura Mazda.
Yeah, yeah, Devon Avenue. I'm just shocked that he would say that down in Largo, Clearwater would have better.
Yeah, the Indian food in Florida is there's a lot more choices and it's a lot better than Devon Avenue.
Yeah, thanks again, Pecan Baby. Love you, honey. I hope you're doing good. We think about you, have you in our prayers.
I'm really impressed by the Indian food here. I was surprised, but the Indian food in Chicago went downhill.
Well, I never liked your Vindaloo. I never thought looked that good on.
That lady. Well, that place was a ripoff. It because I saw it on Chicago's Best. It's called Hima's Kitchen, and it looked really good on Chicago's Best. And when we went there, it really, really was bad.
Yeah, yeah. How warm is it? Did it get as warm as you thought today down there?
It's too hot. It was 84 degrees today.
Let me see what it is now. Let me see what the temperature is in Largo temp. Yeah, because I worry that without the AC, it's 60 degrees right now, which is very comfortable. Huh?
Is there any shawarma places I'm gonna look up in Santa Rosa that you could try? I'm just curious.
I know you were gonna shawarma.
I haven't seen you have a shawarma yet in Santa Rosa. Let me see.
Yeah, we had a Donner. We've had Donners down in Petaluma.
Okay, I'm looking up right now. Have you been? Okay, there's a place here called East West Cafe Restaurant.
Cafe, yeah, we went over there before. They were kind of disappointing. We may actually go back there.
Is that a Turkish place?
Yeah, no, it's like a fusion restaurant. They said the Sahara in Roner Park. Oh, this person said the North Bay Middle Eastern food scene sucks here in Santa Rosa. You got to go.
Have you been to Falafel House, Rosie?
Oh, here we go. This person says East West Cafe in Santa Rosa has pretty good shawarma, as does Aram's in Petaluma. So there are two places anyway.
Have you been to East West Cafe?
We reviewed it before, but I don't think we had. Let me look at the menu for a minute. The East West. Hold on a minute. You got me interested now, Marshall. Let me look. They have hummus with pita. They have baba ganoush with pita for appetizers.
This place is bullshit. This place is a fusion place. It's not a real Middle Eastern place. I wouldn't go to this shithole. Fuck that. Let me see Falafel House.
Well, wait a minute. Let me. Jesus, don't pass judgment yet. I mean, holy shit! I'm trying to get to dinner. I don't know. I can't even get the damn dinner. Mediterranean platter has a medley of hummus, baba ganoush, beet delight, which I like, stuffed grape leaves, tabbouleh, and 3 falafel patties and pita bread. That doesn't sound bad for $12.50.
Didn't you go to King Falafel?
Yeah, we went to King. Let me see what King Falafel. Yeah, they use our review for their gateway. Let's see. Yeah, let's see.
I don't think they have real shawarma over there.
That was Jordanian. They had a fattoush salad, the tabbouleh salad, falafel, regular deluxe falafel served with hummus, tomato, lettuce, eggplant, pickles, tahini sauce.
Did you like that place?
Yeah, it was good.
It was good. Okay.
They had the kebab. Their great thing was kebab.
Did you go to Real Donor in Petaluma?
Yeah. We went. We liked that. Then they have the dolmas, the 6-piece falafel. So
what's better, King Falafel or Real Donor?
Well, Real Donor was more Turkish, but I think that I think Friday tomorrow night we're gonna go back to King Falafel. They've got like almost 5 stars added.
No, but hold on a second. Real Donor has a real shawarma here. I'm looking at it here on the picture. They have a real shawarma on the spit. Did you have the shawarma at Real Donor?
I think Jen had the shawarma, if I recall. Let me see the menu.
But it's not. I don't know what. if it's
Yeah,
like gyros.
they have the lamb doner, which is like their real big. Let me see something here. Fucking menu so goddamn small here. Can't even. Chicken doner, lamb shish kebab, chicken shish kebab, Adana shish kebab, falafel wraps, chicken shish kebab. I had that, which was good. They got the lamb.
I don't think doner is not shawarma though. It's different. It's
Yeah,
not bad.
Jen had the lamb and beef doner, which was good.
No, this is more like gyros. It's not really shawarma. This is more like gyros. It is still not bad. It's good, but it's not really shawarma. So
It's pretty interesting. You think Biker Aussies? I think KFC is right for. I actually like KFC. I like their chicken. It's good. I remember Marshall used to go into the Walmart. What was it, Marshall? After 7 p.m. at night, if you went into the Little Rock Walmart, you got 2 chickens for like $5, or they marked the fucking chicken down. Remember that?
yeah, something like that. What about? Oh, have you been? How far is San Rafael from you?
It's about 25. It's just about 30 miles towards.
Okay, there's a place here called Kaba BBQ. Have you heard of it? It looks like it's a Persian place.
No.
It looks like a Persian place. It's got 412 reviews. I wonder if it's any good. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's a Persian restaurant.
Oh, this place looks good. From the pictures, this place looks
Shirazi hummus, feta, falafel and hummus, falafel.
Hey, this place looks good, Rosie. I'm looking at the pictures. It looks good.
Persian
They
way
got the
bread.
kebabs. They got the saffron rice. They got the filet kebab, the filet mignon kebab, made out of filet mignon.
That does look pretty good. That's a decent distance away, though.
Really, how far is that from you guys?
That's going to take about 45 minutes to get there.
Really, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does look good now that I'm looking at it. Huh.
Yeah, this place. Oh, this place looks good. I would go over there. Rosie.
everything else is kind of a blowout up here. Yeah, what do you guys think? Are you into Middle Eastern food? To me, I always like to broaden my food.
The saffron rice looks so good there. And then they have the filet mignon kebab with the ground lamb. You know, this place does look good. I would go to this place if I was there. If I was in Santa Rosa, I'd drive over there.
You finally had a little bit of hope, Marshall, that there might be something decent after Burnt Toast, California.
Yeah, but this is in San Rafael.
Yeah, that's a significant. That's where 410. The 410 came out of.
What type of area is that?
That's where 420 came out of. San Rafael High School is where the 420, the whole 420.
Oh, you know what else is good that they have there? They have the Cornish hen that's grilled. That's really good.
Yeah.
Man, this place does look good and stuff.
I'm getting hungry as hell.
This place looks like a legit.
I'm not cock blocking. I'm not cock blocking anybody. Juice, that's where 420 began at San Rafael High School, there on the back wall.
Is this a good area, San Rafael?
Yeah. It's only 5 miles from San Francisco, Marshall. So it's a very wealthy. It's not ghetto.
Would I be able to boondock there?
Yeah, of course. All of this is boondock friendly here. Yeah.
Man, this place looks so good. I'm gonna have to go to Morocco. I'm gonna have to go to Morocco.
You shocked me on Devon Avenue, though. I never saw that coming. Devon Avenue. Let's see, Persian, Middle Eastern food. They must have Lebanese places up there.
Let me see. I guess San Rafael has got a lot of. Well, I don't know. That's one place that came up here.
Yeah.
What's Telegraph Hill? There's another place in Telegraph Hill that says May Kadeh.
I guess
another Persian place.
San Francisco.
Is that in Frisco?
You got a place called the Shawarma Inn on Park Ridge, Illinois. Isn't that weird?
No, that has 2 locations and stuff.
Okay, so you know.
Oh, this place looks like a Regal place too. It's called Maykadeh, another Persian place. Is that further than that other place, Telegraph Hill?
Yeah, I think that's down in San Francisco. Narcy says Elvis walk around Devon Avenue at 3 a.m. I knew you came out of the Boys Town, that trans club across the street, but I never knew you were on the streets at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Well, he's always in the massage parlors in Largo paying $300 for snatch. Man, this place looks good. Rocky Mountain oysters. What, Rosie? Let me ask you a question. What is this dish called, Rocky Mountain oysters?
I think it's like a balls or something of. They'll tell you on the side over there.
No, I'm saying I'm looking at it at a Persian place. Why would it be at a Persian place? It's like a yellow. It's yellow. Is this like what's a Rocky Mountain oysters? What is this kind of dish? I've heard people talk about this, but what is this? Why would it be at a Persian place, Rocky Mountain oysters? That doesn't make sense. It looks like a yellow sauce over it.
Prairie oysters, they're made of bull balls, Marshall. That's what it is.
Bull balls.
Ash is like, eat them and is a dish made of bull testicles. The organs are often deep fried after being peeled, coated in flour.
No. This looks like it's in a yellow sauce, like a yellow sauce, like a Rocky Mountain. I don't know.
They're balls. You can have sheep balls. You can have goat balls. You can have all kinds of balls. Put it on yeah. There's no seafood in the mountains, right, Nola? Oh man, that makes me laugh like crazy. Oh man, I can't wait to get to Chicago. Oh shit, the food.
These Turkish places. The only good thing to eat there is their little Turkish pizza.
Did you see Gunn's video? He did a good video on this pizza place. What the hell was the name of this? And don't diss on him. He did a good video. Let me see what this. Yeah.
Oh, there's a place, West Berkeley. Is that Frisco?
No, that's over in Berkeley.
Oh man, this place looks really good.
Near UC Berkeley. Let me see.
This place looks really good. It's called Middle East Market, Rosie. Man, this place looks good.
This guy did. David Guns did Bert's Place. He did a really nice review on Bert's Place. And,
I wanted to go there, but it's kind of hard to find, hard to park too.
Yeah, well, he found it. And he got himself a hell of a friggin' pizza here, Marshall. I'll hold up the picture of it. I mean, this thing was phenomenal. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but that thing was pretty damn good on there. It looked I mean, that place is famous. I saw them on the on the Travel Network and all that. Kick ass.
I'm stuck in this green room here. Shit, I don't know.
I don't know. Really good. Anthony Bourdain is considered Chicago's best. This is considered a place that changed Anthony Bourdain's mind on what deep dish pizza, how good it could be. That's definitely on my list. And there's so many places in Chicago to go back to every single hot dog. Narcy says Jerry's Fruit Market. What is that, Narcy? You ever heard of Jerry's Fruit Market? Is that like a gay club or something, or what is that?
No, it's just a fruit market where Polacks go and they bump into you when they're shopping.
Well, I prefer to say Polish people. King of all things says Rosie make Elvis say Pizza.
Okay, I'm gonna.
How do you say pizza, Marshall?
How do I say pizza? Oh, is Oda still in there? Is Oda still in there?
No, I don't think Oda's still here.
I think she's busy on FetLife then.
I don't think Oda goes on.
Who's your moderator now? Is Greg your moderator again?
I got Code out here and I got Juice out here in the side chat. Code's here.
Oh, the Juice lives in, man, he lives in the most boring place in the world, Oklahoma, right?
No, I think Oklahoma City has some decent food choices. You know, if I was going to be in one place,
I
if I
think he's in Tulsa, right? Isn't he in Tulsa?
think he's in Oklahoma City. If I was going to be in two places, it would either be Norman, Oklahoma, or Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I think,
Oklahoma is the biggest shithole that I've ever seen.
man, you got it in RC. Gale Street Inn Tavern style ribs, unbelievable. Jefferson Park, incredible. Best ribs I ever had in my life, bar none. What a welcome to Chicago when they said, "Hey, we're going to Gale Street Tavern." Like, oh my God, this is so good.
I couldn't believe that you polished off a full slab. I'm like, there's no way she's gonna fucking polish off the fucking full slab. But you polished that off like a champ. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it, man. I could not believe it. You know, shit. I would think that there's some good eats in OKC, Oklahoma City there. I mean, you got the Oklahoma City Thunder basketball team.
I think he claims, Juice claims that he's part Lebanese or something, right? Something like that.
Really, Juice?
That's what he told me.
Interesting.
Did you? I think he used to be.
Did you see what Vegas Barbie said? My little sister got the best boob job I've ever seen for dirt cheap in Oklahoma. Vegas Barbie, you cracked me up, honey. That is fucking awesome. Yeah, how much was it? 2,500 mix, grab and mix your implants, $3K. That ain't bad. That's pretty funny.
Oklahoma City is really a shithole.
I'm not sure. I think probably Juice has places that he enjoys. I think he barbecues himself and cooks himself. So, you know.
Yeah.
Coat, do you? Let me ask Coat here. Do you eat Middle Eastern food, or are you more Americanized in Chicago in terms of food choices? I mean, do you go to Superdog? Do you get the Italian beef? I mean, do you get the Pete's #2 pizza? I mean, what are you into over there? What do you like to eat? I'm curious.
He loves the Philly cheesesteak.
Well, he says I do only home cooked. Really? Okay. Because I'd be just foodieing, you know, and trying. I'd just be on one side of Devon Avenue and just work my way up, and then just take a week and then down the other side. And you know, I shudder to think of what the hell Marshall misses on. You know, I like ribs, seafood, pizza, everything. Okay. So you're kind of more Americanized. Marshall seeks out more of the authentic Middle Eastern. He loves Middle Eastern food and Indian food. I don't know if he could take Nepalese food though. It's probably too hot for him.
I don't like. I went to a Nepal restaurant. I didn't like the food. It sucked. It wasn't. I didn't like Nepal food. Nepalese. I didn't like it.
You probably wouldn't like Burmese food because that's really a barn burner. Oh, you don't eat Middle Eastern? Okay, Cody is really American. He's a lot younger. He's really Americanized. Interesting.
He likes. I think he likes. I don't think he likes pizza that much. I think he likes. I don't know. I think he likes Middle Eastern food the most.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Barbie. Indian food is delicious. If you get a decent vindaloo, not what Marshall got served up with that last time on Devon Avenue, but if you get a good, even Narse was complaining about the vindaloo on there. But I'm just saying, there's.
What about Indian places in Santa Rosa? Have you went to any Rosa?
Yeah, we did. We went to the Tandoori, the new Tandoori. I've been to a couple Indian. We're gonna go try this place called what the hell is it called? Bombay Inn. It's like a bar and a restaurant. So they have.
What's the name of the place you went to?
We went to a place called the New Tandoori Inn. on Santa Rosa Avenue, which was good. I had the, I think I just had the standard, can't remember what I had, like the flagship dish, chicken, tiki masala. I think that's what I had. Yeah, that's what I had, Nola. Yeah.
That's in Santa Rosa, is it?
Yeah, it's in Santa Rosa. It was delicious.
I don't see it on Yelp. Or
They never make it hot enough for me, you know. They're too afraid. They're too afraid to rack the spices into it. So
new sizzling tandoori.
Yeah, the new tandoori on Mendocino Avenue.
Oh, it's only got like 94 reviews.
Well, that's, you know, we're a city the size of Buffalo, Marshall, not Tampa, you know. Oh, soul food is good too. It's king of all things. Do you like jerk chicken and like Jamaican? Yeah, Mendocino juice. That's it.
The bread looks good over there. How's the bread? That looks good.
Bread is outstanding. That tandoor, that naan bread, like Narcissus, that naan bread is unbelievable. It's great. Precious so-and-so, remind me where in the hell you are. You in the UK? I think you're in the UK. Absolutely delicious, Marshall. Absolutely delicious.
This place doesn't really look that good. It's only got 94 reviews.
Well, I didn't think it was that great, but the dish I had was good. The place that I want to go back to the new Donner, the Turkish Donner. But I want to go back tomorrow night. We're going to go back to King Falafel. We're going to get the Middle Eastern spread again. It was good. We're going to test that. It's been about 2 years. Hampton Inn free breakfast buffet. All Marshall did in Skokie was complain to that. Go to Punjab, Punjab Kebab in San Francisco.
The number one place that's most viewed for food in Santa Rosa, it's called Russian River Brewing. Have you ever been there? It's got 20.
Yeah, I've been there. Yep, I've
okay, it's got 2,800. Is it good?
Yeah, it's a good hangout spot. The food ain't nothing, you know. But
really, the food isn't good? The food is not good?
No, they go for the beer. They go for the microbrews. They got all the really famous microbrew. That sounds like a juice. That sounds like it.
It's good for the beer. You're saying the beer is good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they got all the brews.
They got all the microbrews, but I think we had. I think I walked over there from home.
What about Amy's Drive-Thru? Have you been there?
Yeah, we reviewed that twice, Marshall. That's the first really vegetarian drive-in. It's like a McDonald's, but vegetarian. There, it was quite interesting.
Have you heard of Stark's Seafood House?
Yeah, but Stark's was a ripoff. It was the most expensive steakhouse in town, but it was the worst eat that we had.
Really?
If I were you, I'd be over in Ybor City and having some more of that great.
Well, they're saying here on Yelp it's $51 for a prime rib over there. Shit.
It's expensive as fuck, Marshall. And all the sides, you have to pay extra for the sides and shit, you know? So by the time you get out of there, you're at...
there's a Puerto Rican place. This looks good on Mendocino. It's called El Coqui. It's got 800...
we reviewed that. Yep, it's great. Puerto Rican, yeah.
Is it good?
It's very good.
Huh, what did you have there?
I had the plantains and I had the let me find it on the menu. El Coqui, yeah, we really like that.
You didn't have the the tamales look good. Did you have
the they were really good. It's KO. Okay, El Coqui. This was like
this place looks good.
That was like the second restaurant we reviewed. It's been over 3 years we've been doing food reviews every Friday night now. Marshall.
El Coqui. Maybe I remember you did.
Nobody's reviewed more North Bay restaurants than we. I know, it's hard to believe, huh? Salem restaurant, get the hummus.
What did you have there? Do you remember what you had?
I want to tell you, Nola, the damn Cuban sandwich in Ybor City was phenomenal. It was off the hook.
You remember what you had at El Coqui?
Yeah, I'm looking up their menu.
This place looks good. El Coqui.
Yeah, I had the you see this, what I had. We're looking at the El Coqui salad appetite. Let me get to the main event. We had, oh no.
Man, this place looks.
They kind of changed the menu around, Marshall, since I don't know. Entrees. Here we go. The entrees. Let me see. Let me see this. The menu's all open file. Let's see. Okay, I had the chicharron de pollo.
Oh.
It was no, maybe I didn't. Let me see something. No, I had something more. I think I had the what the hell I had. I can't remember, Marshall. I got to go back and look at. It's been years.
I think another place you went to is Dirk's Parkside Cafe, right?
That's mainly for breakfast. I'm not sure if we ever went there for breakfast. Yeah. A lot of these places burned to the ground.
Yeah. There's not many places to choose from in Santa Rosa. Hey, this place looks good. Bosco's Trattoria.
Yeah.
The pizza, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Italian plates, fancy Italian plates.
All right. Well, listen, Marshall, it's got to be on 3:30 in the morning. Hopefully it's cooled down. You're 59, 60 degrees there. I'm going to go ahead and shut down tonight. I'm very happy tonight. I laid out a lot of history. I've got such an education in the last 24 hours. I always feel good when I learn something new. Be proud of your heritage, Marshall. Live up to it. You know, you come from a real line of distinction. You know, the cradle of civilization in the Fertile Crescent there, and between the Tigris and Euphrates. Good night, Nocturnal. You got a lot to live up to.
Yeah, I think if somebody's gonna like talk about politics, you got to be like kind of up to date with the stuff that's going on to be able to get into it.
That's great, Ozzy. And yeah, I think I gave it a little bit of education. Sometimes you got to stand your ground, run your own program, despite what people may think you're doing. Have fun, educational. No fundraising here tonight. It was all good. Thank you, Coachisms. I'm very, very thrilled to have discussed this tonight. So, Marshall, thanks for coming on. Like I say, my big takeaway is there are not many Assyrians left today. And between the massacres and the people being scattered all over the place, you can see why this culture is virtually extinct almost in the world today. So uphold that tradition and, you know, do it with pride. You know, there's not a lot left, and do what you can to help your own people. You know, I'm sorry this is not a fundraiser for you tonight, but I really feel like our needs here in this country are so great that, you know, you got to do the best that you can do with what you got. But I appreciate you being on tonight, eh?
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for being along.